Welcome to the close. 2 hours to go until the end of the day. We'll take you right through to 4 o'clock this afternoon, talk a little bit about this tech sell-off. Bit of a slide, to say the least, happening for us this afternoon. Back into negative territory here in a big way. 2 full percent right now for the NASDAQ to the downside. You can see the Dow hanging on strong. 0.5% to the upside. It was up about 1 and change there at one point today. Back in the red as well for the S&P. We'll talk a little bit about why here in a second. The TSX was up about 0.5% here in Toronto, back to flat. Brazil lower. You can see crude oil still holding on to gains. Bitcoin lower now. Ethereum holding on to 1.2%. We were up way more than that to kick things off. Here is why. Bottom left corner here. Both the healthcare and tech groups to blame for the weakness in the overall market. This is the S&P 500. I'll show you the NASDAQ in a second here. But yeah, really weak day for healthcare stocks specifically. CRL, CTLT, PKI Bio, all 5 to 6% to the downside. Software names under pressure here as well. If we slide over to the tech sector, now 8%, FTNT, CDNS, INTU. All about 5 to 6% to the downside. Banks are offsetting this, so that's why we are still just 0.4 up here for the S&P. Anyways, banks offsetting. Industrials outside of GNRC, pretty strong. In fact, the entire group back to the upside. Here's the energy group over here, top right. Every single one of these in positive territory. CTRA, Oxy, Halliburton, Fang. 5 to 7% in positive territory. There was a headline there on Discovery this morning. We mentioned briefly there, 7% to the upside for Discovery. So a lot of big moves both ways to make note of today. Here's a look at a very red NASDAQ. That tells the story of the afternoon. A lot of the Chinese names getting hit once again. Pinduoduo here, 12.3%. Wow. JD.com, about 6.8. There's Peloton, another day to the downside. Lucid with a reversal. That was up slightly in the pre-market this morning. Zscaler over here, 10% move. Datadog, Team, to name a few. I mean, it's one of those days. Take your pick. Software names going to be under pressure when it comes to tech stocks, leading the way, in fact, along with some of the semiconductors. So, as I said, 2 hours to go. We're going to kick things off, as we do every single day in the afternoon, talking about some of the opportunities we presented to you. If you joined us at 8:30 in the morning, make sure, by the way, to join us at 8:30 every single morning. We'll get you ready for the open. Neil's ready to go with the first one. He's going to talk about one of his trades.
Exactly. We're going to talk about Nvidia today. And a day where the market is getting absolutely crushed. The reality is, especially the NASDAQ getting crushed, the reality is there are going to be situations where you find yourself liking a long position or you want to buy at a certain level and you're going to take the loss, right? So there's a very small possibility that you could have taken longs at various places in Nvidia and made money today. So what do you do when you're going to be against the trend? I can't know that it was going to go down. If I had that crystal ball, I wouldn't have gone long in the first place. But I want to start by thinking about where we're structuring this trade in the first place. We talked about this in yesterday's trade, that Nvidia had this 306 top on the 15-minute. It was a bit of a double top. I'm just highlighting the last couple of sessions so you can see the failed break it had at 306. That's important because the nature of the dip buy to start out is going to get tempered by this. So when we don't make that break at 306 off the top, we're essentially rejecting a level, a resistance level. And when that's the case, and I'm going to do a dip buy here, I'm always looking to scalp out in front of that breakout price because usually that's 2 separate trades to me. And that means no matter what, when it does come into that 300 level that I look to dip buy off the open, I was never thinking on holding it through more than $3 to $5 worth of profit in that particular case. So it does come into 300 as usual when I'm looking to buy on a dip off of a level that I cannot say is strongly supported anywhere when I go and pull up the higher time frame. It's just off that 300. I'm looking for it to bounce first. It fades in, gets pretty close to 300, bounces. I end up getting 301 on the way back up. Just looking to play the momentum there. As I said, looking to scalp it out in front of that high. It goes about halfway, gets some out. But then guess what? 300 breaks and I'm out of the trade. Again, didn't have a key level at that price level. It was just about the 300 level. So I had a target. I was able to get some out for a winner. We're still up on the day because we took our pain, we took some profit, and we took our pain for the loss. The key thing here is, at this point, it's easy to say, oh, I like the long, let me just find other places to get in. But you can't. You've got to see that falling sword and then start thinking about where is it safe to get back into it. Now, looking back where there was support on the 15-minute, the next level I like came into play. A heck of a lot faster than I anticipated, which sometimes is telling you a bit of something here. We got right into that 94, 95 range, technically a 93 bottom in there. And you're going to see a couple of entry points in here and then just taking the pain when they break out the lows. This is what you've got to be able to do. You're looking for the bounce. You get a consolidation bouncing your tight range, and then you get an entry point. It never even breaks out of the range. It breaks the low out. It holds the bottom here again at that 93, the absolute bottom on the 15-minute. It tries to bounce through, cannot again break out of the cycle, and then takes out the low. This is where, on the live show, I even said to myself, oh my goodness, why didn't I reverse to the short? Now, I can't say 300 short was something I would have been looking at, but when I popped the 15-minute chart, there was a gap to be filled below that 293. So one of the toughest things to do is to go short in a company that you like a lot of times, right? Especially at a level that you think is worth buying in the long term or is a good support level. But other times, you gotta look at what's going on. It had traveled down a lot faster than that support than I had anticipated, meaning the selling was stronger. It then took out a level where there was a vacuum below on the 15-minute on the higher time frame chart. And I'll tell you right now, if you were watching this, both when 292 broke and when it broke this 288 level, you don't see the bid evaporate quite as fast as I did see here today. So I'm thankful, A, that my stop got almost no slippage when it took out that 93 bottom. But the other important thing is I know I learned a lesson. When there's a gap like that on a key level, you got to be able to reverse. One of my resolutions for this year was to be able to reverse shorts into longs when I have a good level. And then here, when there was a short available, because it was Nvidia, didn't go ahead and do it. So this is how you structure your trade so that you can mitigate your losses, take what little profit might be there when you counter trend, and then don't get yourself shut down or blown out on a single trade. There weren't a lot of ways you were going to make money on Nvidia today unless you knew 283 was going to be the bottom. Even then, there are ways to be able to survive and structure your trades so you can live another day.
Hard to find strength in some of the chip makers today, including Nvidia, even with that Too Simple news we talked about. Too Simple Holdings, the autonomous truck maker, saying this morning they were going to use Nvidia. So it was actually a little bit higher to start things off, but as the rest of them. Back to the downside here. I was just watching some other tech names we'll talk about here. That's the watch list, guys. If you are looking for the link, Miss V can help you out in the chat, getting that once again. We send it out every single morning at 8:30, absolutely free every single day. I just noticed Shopify, wow. Speaking of stocks that are in a bit of a tailspin here today, almost 11%. It's very rare. I just zoomed out on a daily chart. It's very rare to see a stock like this down that much, 11%. No significant reason that I can tell, but along with some of the other names in this space getting hit today, guys.
Yeah, I went out, I tweeted out here today that we just bought some Shopify. So, you know, you're never going to have to question, like, you know, what I'm doing at all. And thank you again for some of the, 16 likes, few retweets here. But we bought some Shop and some CRM here today. So we're going shopping. I mean, when you get what I feel like a good opportunity to buy a company that is just, for some reason, breaking below this 1300, which is a good little area of support. Obviously not today as we break lower. So we'll wait to see. You know, again, it's a starter position. We talked about that on both CRM and Shopify. They're brand new. I've never been in either one of these. And as I look to consolidate my holdings, I actually do the opposite here and take trades in names that I don't own. So we'll wait to see where it goes. But I mean, I really like Shopify down here, a big move down. They obviously empower the web and small businesses heading over to the web. So, hey, if we're going back into more lockdowns here, like we probably are in Canada, which we are in Ontario anyways, Shopify should continue to work. Even in a non-COVID world, I believe Shopify works out great as well. So this has been a big story. And then Salesforce, man, Mark Benioff, stepping away, but, one of the better CEOs. I really, really love CRM. They recently closed their deal there with Workforce not Salesforce, Workday, I guess it was. No, what was the company that they just closed with? Anyways, I can't
Now you're.
Now I've got too many things in my mind here. But again, CRM, a nice little fall down. We've seen them bounce off these levels before and start to head up to the north side. So we're going to check these out down here at some good levels. But yeah, this is what's happening right now. So wow, big time movement in a lot of these names today. It may be early, guys, to start nibbling into some of these trades, but that's what I'm doing. And we'll just see where it goes. Slack. That's what it was. But thank you for that, Mookie Wilson there on the chat. But yeah, just time to start nibbling into some of these. I'm still a bull for 2020. Obviously, we have the Fed coming out. There are going to be 2 to 3 interest rate hikes this year. I kind of feel like that's all baked in, right? And so the only worry for me really right now, obviously, geopolitical. We have some problems with Russia and with Ukraine, so that could boil over into the U.S. equity market. And then I was just reading Ray Dalio put out a note here today as well, and that is that there's going to be a lot of funding all tied up and stuff due to the elections in 2024. I mean, I'm not sure either side, and this is what his point was, knows like who's going to win in 2024. They may just sort of leave the stock market alone for a while and start to build their cases up for that election cycle. So, and again, gridlock in Washington is sometimes good for the market as it takes their eyes away from regulation and from some of these worries here. We already know that tapering is coming in, and I don't know.
It's great for the market, I think.
What?
Well, gridlock for the market.
That's what I'm saying. It's great.
Because you know nothing's going to change.
Right, exactly.
It's like the market loves certainty. Don't get me wrong. Gridlock is not necessarily.
But it's certain to happen. I think that's the point, right?
It's certain that gridlock is going to happen.
You're right. It's happening right now.
I tend
they
to
can't even get that BBB passed.
No.
The
Bill Better. Getting better. I mean, that situation's probably not getting
senators
better.
on each side, like they're not even following their own ranks, right?
I got to put something in here. Someone said here in the chat, they go, Mark Benioff leaving. I don't know if you said that.
I did.
You did say that. Okay.
I thought he was stepping down as the CEO. Just as like a consulting role on the. He's going to be on the board still.
Yeah, he's still involved.
That's what I thought. Might be wrong here.
He's not leaving altogether. That's my understanding.
Would it be the first time?
The only thing I'll say about Shop is remember today, if you have a high valuation, you're getting burned, right?
Yep.
So when you trade at 45 times, they're gonna be down today, and it's not. I get it. It's been a bad ride for this. I own it as well, and it is what it is. Like there's a lot of names that are down 5 to 10% that are sort of in that bucket. I think that's the expectation when valuations start to matter here. Apologies. I know you looked at it in New York. My chart, if it's confusing, I look at it in Toronto because that's the denomination I own it in. So when I talk about the levels, I'm more all over it at the 13. It just broke the 200 period today, which was an interesting move. I'd like to see it settle down after that, but it's a high valuation sell-off today, and a lot of these companies are going to be perfectly fine. It's just, when you start thinking about earnings and pushing those out, it is what it is. They're all getting punished today. I can't think of anything that's considered a high-val stock that isn't getting beaten up today. Maybe there's something out there, but nothing comes to mind.
Looking at a couple other ones, Square, PayPal as well. I mean, Square 7.25% again today, giving up on that 160 level. We're down to what is it at right now? 153. Some strength in retail today, guys. Worth mentioning, both Walmart and Kroger coming out midday, raising the price of COVID-19, the fast rapid tests. BBY here, Best Buy had some of its own news as well. So Best Buy up 3.5% on the day. So it's kind of a tale of two stories today. Yeah, there's a lot of weakness, but individual names pretty strong here. Best Buy launching their own in-house advertising business. From what I get, you're going to be able to basically click on ads that'll take you right to the product on their website to buy. So good idea for Best Buy.
Yeah, I think there's obviously some value names running. The Dow is up. The ES, sorry, not the NASDAQ. The ES is still 0.5% to the downside. But it's not all gangbusters. Like Walmart, it's down a couple of points. So even hiding there hasn't been that great. Some of your consumer staples have been pretty okay with something like a Procter, but when you talk about something like a Best Buy, again, you still have let me finally load up here. You still have what's looming. I think the reaction to potential, like Sean said, potential lockdowns. What are we doing in the next couple of weeks? I like to hope that the top of this or the apex of this, next wave is being made, and maybe you're making a top, but then there's apparently this variant in France people were talking about here. Something like a Best Buy, which is actually bouncing off of a support level, which is showing strength, and on a day where there's relative weakness, it has a bit of a catalyst. It's not necessarily terribly poised, right? Like you look for, people are always having where do you swing? I mean, this is off $100, which was previous support area, and trying to break back out. It's worth doing a little bit of a notion here as to what to check in on, but I like the names that are going to be protected against inflation. And certainly, I'm not saying Best Buy is one of them. There's a few names that I like a lot better than a Best Buy. I like Target better than Best Buy. Walmart's not doing that great today. I kind of like them as well. But yeah, the setup looks pretty good on the Best Buy, and you can't ignore relative strength on days like today. Like, you've got to be looking to see what was strong and what was not. Healthcare is something that stood out to me. Like, I was. You guys have heard me talk about Danaher, and I was shocked. We went 330 to we saw a 305 print today. So healthcare got absolutely beaten up. I still think it's going to be do pretty well this year. So probably going to be some opportunities in your UNHs and your Eli Lilly's. Pfizer's a bit of a different story because they're attached to the vaccine, but there's going to be some opportunities this next week if this continues.
Yeah, I think there's tons of opportunities, including, what about Home Depot? Home Depot, the largest gainer in the Dow for 2020. I mean, what a monster move this has had here. You just go back a year today, 269, man. You're at 412 right now, not dipping down at all. So I think there's a lot of strength in some of these retailer names as well. You guys know that I've been liking Macy's for a bit here. Names I haven't been into, but names that could work in this environment. You see there's a lot of upside here potential today from the retail sector, from the banking sector, and it's not all doom and gloom unless you are trading. Like we said, some of the high valuation names, you're seeing me right now in Palantir. We'll talk about that when we're going. Beyond Meat, 52-week low. Peloton, 52-week low. Square, aka Block, 52-week low. Snapchat, 52-week low. These are just names that I look at all the time. Tilray, 52-week low. Twitter, 52-week low. CGC, of course, 52-week low. I mean, and they're all going. It all is what it is. But look what's at 52-week highs. GM, Ford, McDonald's at 52-week highs, Apple at 52-week high today, right? So a lot of the value plays and the best companies in the world all at 52-week highs. It's not that the world is afraid of Omicron or Flumicron, whatever the hell is going on in France. That's
is that what it's called?
I just kind of made that up. It's the flu plus Omicron.
I like it.
Flumicron. Oh boy.
You patent that.
Anyways, yeah. Can I patent that? How do I patent that? Someone make that into an NFT and send it to me. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen here, but I think you got to just stay the course. Be diligent in what you're investing in, and let's all make some money together. But yeah. Who knows where we're going from here? We'll talk about Palantir as well when we get there, Brendan. But what a crazy, crazy day, my man.
Yeah, one of those days you really got to be in the right spot. I mean, we've talked about Ford all day long. It's so much to say about the strength of this stock today compared to the overall market. I mean, 11.6%, 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row, I guess now, for Ford. Thanks, Lucas. 24, I mean, multi-decade highs here for Ford. If you missed it this morning, this is the travel stocks, but if you missed it this morning, they were talking about increasing their production of both the Lightning F-150 and also not only increasing, but doubling their production of the F-150 Lightning and also their batteries. They're going to be able to make 600,000 EV batteries per year, and that's up from 300, which is huge.
So I was only, I mean, it's monstrous. We've been talking about Ford for months, let alone days here. We had the breakout yesterday at 21. I mean, that's a huge trade. I'm getting a lot of love on Twitter from everybody, man. You guys bought options, you bought calls. You guys are running this stock right now, and it's just been an absolutely gangbuster run to the upside. This is going to sound crazy because you're not going to believe me, but we bought it in the pre-market and then we bought it on this dip. I haven't bought it again. You know where I'm sitting? 2406. No word of a lie. It just dipped down to 2407 right here. I'm at 06. So we tried to reload this. This is just going to be a spot. I don't really even know why I'm at 06 here. It was basically because of this move to the downside. We only went down as far as 04, 05. I put the 06 in. We miss it there. It goes to 08, and we miss it there. It goes to 08 again. So I like the reload back down here near 24 for a bump up. But as I look at this, I mean, we're $1.90 in the money here on this, and we've let it go all the way to the top and fallen right back down in. So this might be something where we just take the profit out here. I think it has one more shot at this level, 24.35 right here. Let's see if it takes that out. If it does and we trade up here, then we can have our out back in. So, you know, we're going to look at Ford to take this out. We're still sitting down here at 06. Who knows if that's going to come through or not, but yeah, it's been a monster. And I said the other name that's been upside, I've sold some of this today as well, was GMN. We're long this name, 48, something like that. It's been a nice little run up. We got this later than we got Ford, but both names at 52-week highs today. GM and Ford, man, quality names, quality moves, and continues to surprise people to the upside with these moves.
It's unbelievable. Someone in the chat was, and I think it might have been Day Trading Mom, but either way, the comment was to the effect of GM's going to beat Ford in the long term. Look, I own one, not the other, and it's GM. I don't own Ford, but you can't deny both the catalyst and the way it's moving and the momentum that Ford has. So like I'd love to be able to say that, but I can't honestly make that assessment. It could very well be true, and GM is definitely at this point now a heck of a lot cheaper than Ford. If I own both, I'd trim Ford to add GM just on a valuation basis. But we made a point this morning, and I'm gonna reiterate it here because Stephen Howard in the chat just mentioned this. When tech was dropping, you saw Nvidia fall in that trade of the day, and immediately off the open, you had the rollover in the chip makers. For a little bit of this, Global Foundries was trading up, up about 3%. It broke out that 68. It was going through 69. And the reason for that, the only logical reason for that is the partnership with Ford. So Ford's growth is good for them. That's a big client for them. That's a great partnership for Global Foundries. And I like this name, and the fact that it's essentially a name that you might have expected on a day like today to be in that group of down 5% or 10% and looking a little weaker. Is a recent IPO that doesn't have the track record and doesn't have the cash flow, even like a safe cash flow like an Intel, right? It doesn't have any of those things. Yet 2.5%, and that's riding Ford's coattail. So I kind of do believe if the continuation of the breakout happens in Ford, and we get a consolidation in the chips and the NASDAQ here, the Global Foundries would be poised. Now, I liked it a lot better if we got it in the 50s or close to the IPO price, but beggars can't be choosers. It's something I'm looking to get into. I'd just rather see things settle down in the overall market because when we're struggling really hard to bounce off the bottom here, if the NASDAQ were to, let's just say, close off of those lows, then sort of buying something higher than what I intended to before today wouldn't make a heck of a lot of sense. Like there's plenty of things out there that I think you can dip into that I do like today, probably in healthcare a little bit. But Global Foundries looking pretty strong today, relatively, despite the fact that it's down 2%. So we can thank Ford for that.
Just checking on Pfizer, some of the vaccine-related names to the downside today as well. Biden administration saying they're going to double their order of Pfizer's COVID pills. I think this was when that came out. Got this back above 55 briefly, but here we go, testing 55. Again, for Pfizer, I mean, 3%. We talked about Moderna there off the top, also in negative territory. Some of these little low float stocks just popping up. I saw a few people mentioning Reliance again. Starting to go. It held 9 on that pullback. Some volume coming in, though. Late in the day for Reliance. Remember, this is the one with 10 million share float. That high about 910. So right where we are right now for Reliance starting to go here.
So look, I said one of the things I had to do is try to go do more longs in some of these and reverse trades. I tried, and I did to an extent on this twice. Like I was shorting Rely in the morning show. Well, actually, I guess technically I actually got into it like at noon, but we're looking at this level off of 850 and waiting for a chance at it in the morning show. And then we talked about getting it here on the midday show. It was working well, shorting it into VWAP. And then I did reverse it at the high. But there was a level, and if I pull it just a little bit back here, yesterday, 925, the lower high, was an unbelievable short to be able to have yesterday. So when it got to that $9 range, I was sort of thinking, take it out. And then if it does a failed break at 9 even, can't get through that 25 from yesterday, you jump back into the short. That worked, but when I reloaded it, it lost. I reversed into a long and didn't hold. So I did it once, and the long worked. And then when I tried the long the second time, bungled on it, obviously. You can see, did not give it enough room, which is kind of silly. Like if I give this all the way back to 9 even, instead of saying, oh, okay, give it that 1,000, 2,000, count it out for like half a minute or so, and it doesn't want to seem to run. Didn't want to give it to an actual stop, which would have legitimately been at $9. That's, to me, not structuring a trade properly, right? Like if you're getting into it You shouldn't take a breakout unless you're willing to hold it back to the first support level like this. Like, what's the point of having it then, right? So we end up getting out. It then rejects $10 for a short. I think if it gets back up there again, it's a short off 10, but that's one of those things. Like, you can't take that breakout if you don't have a plan. I just decided I wanted to reverse because it was a good level, but then wasn't willing to hold it. And if you're not willing to hold it in that situation, then you shouldn't take it in the first place.
Yeah, I don't. This is a joke from yesterday from Rob. Don't rely on that stock to do much there. But yeah, so, you know, again, you've traded a lot of names today, so that's just going to be one of them. Okay, Facebook right now. So we got, you know, this is one that was like, oh yeah, look, we took like a 50-cent winner, and then it was like a $1.50 loser there. And then now we've been trying to get this thing. We talked about this on the Market Movers show when I came on, and that was, this was a try and then a fail. We didn't want to hold this all the way back down. Once we retook 333, we went long, actually 333.50. We went long and then managed to take 50 cents, $1, $2 to the high side here, 335.70. And as you're going to notice here, look at this. It's basically been the top. I mean, if we could just focus in here maybe a little bit more. This has been the top here on Facebook. We're long right here. So out, out, out. Made some of this money back on FB. Nowhere near what we lost, you know, because we just had more shares here on the open. But that trade right there was a good one. And right now we're going to see if Facebook can't retake some of the tops here. Only down 1.25%. So down less than the market. But as you can see, man, it's been a crazy little day here. So who knows where Facebook's going to go. I do want to buy a little bit more if we get into the 332 area, but for right now, we're going to let Facebook ride, and I'm still expecting it to take back out this 335. I don't think the NASDAQ closes on its lows, so let's see if we get back going to the high side here, 335.50 or so, a temporary target here for FB Brendo.
All right, it is strategy time once again, guys, the time of year when a lot of traders are sitting down and saying, okay, what worked last year and what am I going to go into the market with this year? We're going to give you a few ideas, very simple, very basic ideas as far as strategies are concerned that you can take into the market in 2022, guys.
Absolutely. And then for me, it's like you just said it right there, like what worked before that you can take into next year. So if I look at what was probably the best trade for me as a day trade, it's that whole notion of finding stocks I like to short, maybe gapping up in a small cap, and then it fails to break out the high right at 930, and then fails to break out, and then you short it off of that rejection. So the flip side of a trade like that would be the long. And candidly speaking, this is one that I wrote down in my notes and then didn't take. Now, I've actually managed to trade the stock after all, Reliance here today, but this had that setup that I would have been looking for. So here's the rundown. You had a breakout right here at $7 the previous day. So you had a lower high resistance at 7. You then had a rejection of that level right at the open, and then you had a breakout at 7. It goes all the way up, actually running over 20%, then pulling right back into support at 7. So twice, double bottom at 7 the day before. So what are you looking for in this situation? This is a stock that has been bullish, despite the fact that it's been pulling back significantly, 10, 15% pullbacks. It's continued to run. So if you're looking on the bullish sentiment here, it does the failed break of that low at 7 even right here at the open at 930. It cannot get anywhere near to the next support level, let alone an even dollar level at 650, and then pop. So you either take it on the re-entry point back above 7 even. It also sets you up for the break at the failed pre-market high as well. Those are two ways you can start playing it. It's worked very well for short trades. I could show you Tesla today, which had a short in that same vein, or lots of stocks that actually had a short in that same regard where they couldn't break the top. But this is one where it breaks the bottom, then comes right back, takes out that high, and then you see the momentum it has. So whether you're taking the breakout at the pre-market high or when it reclaims that 7 even after that failed breakdown at 930, it's just taking something that works for a short setup and then playing it for a long if you've got a stock that you think can continue a trend. So it's worked in the small caps in 2021. I'm looking to carry it forward 2022. And on purpose, I'm showing you one here where I had this trade written down that I wanted to have it and then didn't do it because usually I'm trading it the other way, and it was shorting something that cost me missing this long.
Okay, I'm going to take a little bit more of a macro approach here, and mine's going to be get yourself into some ETFs and be diversified here into 2022, right? So what I mean by that, obviously, is I'm not sure this is going to be a stock picker's market this year. Who knows what's going to work? I think we all like energy, we all like financials, but honestly, like to sit there and try to pick some names that are going to be high flyers this year, into an interest rate. We're changing up what's going to be happening with interest rates. 2 or 3 increases this year expected. We know tapering's on board. So let's just have a quick talk here about what I'm saying. What I think you need to do is buy some ARK. Just buy the main one, ARK. This is going to give you Teladoc. This is going to give you Roku, Twitter, Tesla, some of those high-flying names where you don't have to sit around and pick a Palantir. Like Palantir could go down 10% this year, but hopefully this managed fund has other names that are flying up 10%. They may not. This is the risky play for you this year if you invest in ARK. But what I would do with ARK is turn around and buy some SPY. The spiders, the last year, the S&P 500, and we're talking about 2022, but last year the S&P 500 up 27% last year. Okay, so I think you're a little bit, not correct, if that's the right way to say it, by not investing something in a market-based ETF. And I wouldn't choose the Qs because, again, if ARK doesn't perform, you're most likely going to get a drawdown also into the NASDAQ 100. So I like the SPY. And then the last one I like too this year, again, I said financials and I said oil, but why not just go into XLE here? Again, get into some oil, find your way into a name that, hopefully, the chart will load up here. This is a Select Spider Energy Trust. And you can see here, this is breaking out to 52-week highs right now in this name. And if you believe that oil is going higher, why not do that? So my tip for 2022 coming through is portfolio diversification and do it through ETFs. Just make it simple. You don't have to try to outthink the market. That's my sort of macro look at what's going to be happening here in 2022.
Best part of this time of year is we get to take a look back, as we said, and see what worked last year, but also understand that every year is going to be different, and it's about growing and it's about improving as traders on a yearly basis. I want to talk about one idea that I want to get better at this year, and that is going to be on the long side of a trade, specifically in small caps. So I'm going to show you a news story from this very morning. In fact, we were talking about Hoth Therapeutics out this morning with promising data on an Alzheimer's treatment. So tick number 1, or check mark number 1, is going to be a positive news catalyst. I'm going to get rid of this window and show you the next tick here, and that is the market cap. This one, a nano cap, if you want, 16.9 million on the market cap and a 20 million share float. So it's very rare you see the float size larger than the market cap, but in this case, that was it. In the pre-market, we'll go to the chart then. Hoth up in the pre-market on the initial announcement. We get above right away some significant levels on the daily chart, which was 120 right here. It does struggle at the open at that 120, but my point here is simply if all signs point to positive, even though on a higher time frame this is a weak daily chart, all signs point to positive, a small market cap, a small float. I'm going to start looking for the long in some of these types of charts because this one was absolutely great this morning, 120 up to 175, 180 at the top. It's done absolutely nothing since, still holding significant levels. So positive news catalyst, small market cap, small float. This year in 2022, I'm going to be looking long, guys. Let's talk about that because it's going to be one of those ideas we'll explore a little bit as we continue along here through this year, and that is trying to find individual names and individual ideas when we get here in the morning that might give you opportunities at the open. And in this case, Neil, I know you were looking at this Hoth still up better part of 100% here, holding that 130.
Yeah, we're joking. Some people in the chat, we're joking around about Hoth because Empire Strikes Back. If you're a Star Wars fan, like obviously I am, then yeah, that's the planet they're on at the very beginning, and it's been a cold stock every time it gets about to 150 or so, but it did the halt to the upside, and this was a missed opportunity for me at 9:30. I think the halt break was, you had all the chance in the world, but once it halted a second time, and I'm not in it to the long, it's done. Like at that point, once I saw it fail back to that halt price at 158, I said it was a short off of that price and short 150 every single time. Now it gave you VWAP breaks like several times here, and it did stop me out one time. I got back into it finally, actually just now, and I'm going to scalp it in this range, but it's holding up here pretty nicely. If you look at it, if you look at this on the daily, right? Like you got this breakout, but it also obviously broke the 200 period here. And it just bounced off of that at about 130, which is kind of where that support's going to be. So there is a little bit of something holding it up right around that 130 level on the daily chart. So I think it's a scalp trade. If it gets above that 160 where the whole price is, I think maybe it's got some room to run, but the volume isn't really picking up. That's why I take 5-10 cents in this range, keep a relatively tight stop. That's the way I want to reapproach it going into the end of the day here. If I had to pick something that has at least a chance to maybe make a breakout through the high, I mean, of course, I just got to fill on the bid out of the short, but if I had to pick something, as long as it holds this 130, if I had to pick something that has a chance, if it were to take out the high and then make a late run, this would be it. But playing inside of the range we're going to do, and then just try and bring the register a little bit here. Is the market trying to get back up, at least a little bit? I mean, the NASDAQ, I don't know, up 40, 50 handles here. So are we finding a temp bottom? I'd love to see us rally off these lows. That'd be nice.
Yeah, we just made that call right there, and we probably should have stacked in some cash. I mean, literally 5 minutes ago, we talked about giving a price target up here for Facebook, and it just went like right into that target. So yeah, about that, didn't take it out. Let's see if we take out this level now on a NASDAQ rip to the high side. Let's see if that can happen now. NASDAQ trying to make a move. It was down, I think it was 2.1% or so at its low, now battling back. So let's wait to see where we go here on FB, try and take out some of those highs. We said we'd talk a little bit about Palantir, guys. So look, this is what it's been like today, and this is not going to be trading for everybody, right? I mean, you can see here, although it's all the way into the downside, all we're really doing is, maybe it looks better if I try to zoom out and zoom in here just to give you guys a little look at exactly what we're doing there. Maybe that's the best. Every single time it came down here to 95, we were buying, and look, we got it out every time, except for the time that it finally breaks and we get out at 90. So that's a 5-cent hit. Most of these are 10 cents or so to the upside. Then we take it long at 85 again, right on this bottom. We take that long, it comes down to 80. We take it again, and now we're just scalping these things out on the high side right here. So there is lots to trade, but again, Palantir, very disappointing today. I would have expected a run back to VWAP at least on this move. You've seen some of the other names that we have on here. Facebook, Ford, obviously, starting to run. But Palantir right now, this will break this low. So I'm getting out of this. I mean, it hasn't run up. If anything, this stock is on the way back down today. You've seen, again, something that I've called baby Palantir, obviously in the past, but Snowflake exactly was down 10+% at one point today, I believe. Anyways, yeah, there it is. Yeah, so down 9. So, sometimes they say the harder they fall, right? Snowflake continues to make a move down off of a very, very impressive run to the upside. It got to about 405 or so, touching that past high as well. So you could see a nice pullback down here for Snowflake as well, but approaching the 200 period. Both these names probably don't work together, Snowflake and Palantir, but this one down as well. So if you like Snowflake a little bit better than PLTR and you want to play more of a range game rather than just scalping, sort of what I'm doing, then Snowflake's probably the one for you, because you could have done the same thing I was doing, but you would just take bigger winners, right? Just be conservative on your outs as well. So hey, lots of names working, but you got to pick the right ones. And today, yeah, high valuation stocks are, having this happen to them right now, like some of our accounts. But that's why we say be diversified, and that's why my tip for 2022 is exactly that.
We were talking about Hoth there with some Alzheimer's data. Speaking of this ALZN, one that also is in the Alzheimer's space, up on monster volume. Like this volume kicked in 130 and took this thing up to 240, 245. So a few people mentioning ALZN, 17%, having quite the afternoon as well. We talked briefly, if you joined us in the pre-market this morning, about Apple and Tesla, obviously, coming off monster days yesterday, both back to earth a little bit today. I mean, not huge pullbacks, but after a 13% move yesterday, Tesla to the downside today, but holding some key levels, guys, for Tesla.
Oh my goodness, the bottom that Tesla made. We say when in doubt, zoom out, but I'll tell you, sometimes I don't even zoom out myself, or at least don't do it fast enough. The only positive thing, well, I shouldn't say the only positive thing about Tesla, but one of the positive things about it, when this made the break, you guys were here when it made the break right at the close at 4 o'clock. I said 3 this morning. At that 1200 level, it got to 1210 in the post market, then held that in the pre-market high. And one of the things we were like, yeah, is Tesla going to make its run to like 1250 tomorrow? What would be the reason that it wouldn't? It's like, well, it's kind of obvious to say, if it doesn't break out of that range, then does the old tries to rally into that high of the day right at 9:30, and then does your patented setup. Like, you try to have a rallying stock buy into, like, do a dip, try to buy into a breakout high, double top, a pre-market high like this, and then fail and roll over. That's usually a pretty bullish kind of sentiment, and then when it breaks a low in that situation, it tends to go. The only good thing I'll say about my trading in Tesla and Nvidia today was, one, I didn't double down on Tesla, but because it was, I even said this, because it was Tesla was the reason I didn't take that short setup. I took the long when it reclaimed 1200, and then much like Nvidia, because I believed that 1210 was its own trade and would have to break that price for me to like the long instead of just approaching it, I ended up getting out. But I should have been looking for this for a potential short trade. You have a parabolic move like that, it just sometimes comes down to risk to reward. Because when it makes the move here, and I can go from the 15-minute, maybe show you on the 1-minute chart, when it makes this move to the upside and you're above 1200, if you get short at 05s into 1210, $5 in slippage on your risk, the bottom at that point is at 1185. So your first target, in theory, can easily be a good $20 winner. You could be taking $10 for a small win, and then everything at $20, and the risk to reward again is pretty fantastic, and it's a pretty good setup. It's gone parabolic, and if you consider the fact that the market wasn't exactly going gangbusters at that moment, it was a pretty good setup. I just didn't do it because it was Tesla and it was so strong yesterday and not wanting to get run over. But it is what it is. You have to be able to live and learn from it. Again, on a day where high valuations get beaten up, I mean, Tesla's going to come down. The other mistake that got made was if you pull it back, and maybe maybe I should do it on I'll do the 15-minute, and this will probably demonstrate to you when this flushed and made that bottom. If you go back to the pre-market in yesterday's trade, that low was right at 1125. Tesla ticked below 1125, got to 23, and snapped back to the upside. It snapped. Like if you took 25 or 26, you couldn't help. If you hit offer enter, you were out at 31. Like it was just $5 or $6. And from that point on, it then actually held that same 31 to 33 level. And then that was the base of operation. So you've got to be watching the stock when it gets to a level like this after giving everything back, all the way back to the low yesterday. You got to be looking at it at that level, because when it snaps down and comes back up, like you're not going to get that trade. You can get it at 1130, but you're not going to get 25, 26, 27 unless you're right there focusing on that particular level. So when the market starts falling, you got to start scanning around for, okay, if I don't have levels written down, where are the levels I need to look at? And Tesla, it was just at the point at which it was giving all of yesterday's run back, and then it was just an awesome run to the upside. I don't have it, but right into VWAP. It's your patented pullback trade. I do the reverse of it when I'm looking for a short. You go right into the resistance point, and it did the same thing here, right? So these setups, especially in liquidity vacuums or big market moves, they're what you're looking for.
The wife wants to pick up some ramen tonight, so
Never wrong.
Yeah, our daughter's going to maybe her last gymnastics for a while, so that kind of sucks.
They didn't cancel yours?
No.
Yeah, they canceled.
She's like,
oh, because you're different.
Yeah, it's like an elite thing, but we'll wait to see. I don't know. I mean, she loves it, so it sucks for that. But okay, so Facebook. All right, hey, we'll do a little floss. All right, it's nice. The Facebook just continues to make a move to the upside, right back to highs of the range. I'm not going to say highs of the day because that's all the way up here where we started to build this position. But yeah, just in all the Palantir scalping, this Facebook trade. Neo coming back in for me. Ford continuing to rip up. We've made back a little bit of what we lost here this morning. So, yeah, we just need this to get back up a little bit. I'm actually targeting, I have an order rate around 337. So if this can go back into view up into right here, then I think that's yesterday's close. If Facebook gets back close enough to green, man, I think this is worth it. And we'll take some out. If we get a big late day rip in the market, then so be it. We will do that. And just another update, man. Like, if I just went long on anything else besides Palantir in the last, what is this, 3 hours? Yeah, we would be up a hell of a lot more money than just sitting here on our hands with Palantir. So we just took another 85 out off an 81 long. So yeah, it's embarrassing that this isn't going, but I don't have a choice but to scalp this out. I mean, I would love to hold for all the way up here, but I mean, is it coming through? I do not know. Ford right now dipping down again. I don't know. This has been pretty high up here today. This could easily fall back down. So just to let you guys know, we're sitting here. Yeah, I mean, it's starting to chomp through volume now. I mean, obviously, it's at 260 million shares today. So Ford just is on one as far as the volume is concerned. Everybody and their mother looking at this stock right here. So with that being the case, you cannot hold this through 24. Back to the downside. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take another shot here pretty soon. I said I was waiting. I mean, I am waiting at 24.06. I think there's enough volume that price should be fine. Normally, if it was light volume, I'd take a bid right about now because, it may not fall back down into 24. But due to the volume, people can push around size. This could drop back in. So I'm just going to try to be patient and pick this up. I mean, maybe I should even go to 10. What is that? Yeah, that's 8 right there. That's 7. So yeah, maybe we'll just go to 24.10 and then use 24 as our out. So I already have the order already scheduled in there. So let's bump our trade here on Ford over to 24.10. We're $1.80 in the money. That's good. Facebook's trying to go right now, trying to take out 336. So yeah, this is $2 in the money. And yeah, it's been a good little rebound for us here. So all is well on this front. But for right now, Facebook's trying to go. Palantir is going to break the bottom, and we just need to find some more names. Intel delivered some chips today, their 12th generation today, which is amazing. The thing is, these companies already have their chips ready to go for the next 5 years. It's just a matter of when they're releasing them. So today, again, a little bit AMD, a lot of these names have battled back, but it's a nice move up for Intel today, 53 and change. Still not super exciting to me until we get it this 200 period, but it's getting very close where you might want to get some into Intel. But again, I've already sort of explained my trajectory here on some of these. I'm still in the SMH, AMD, and Nvidia. Kind of stick with those big guys there. As there goes Facebook again. Let's see if it can move up through 336 and then hit us at 337.
Yeah, actually, I looked at GM one time, right at essentially the 65 level, because we talked about some Ford here. GM actually broke out. It actually broke its high on the daily recently. Ford did that a while ago, but GM here at 65 and change made that move here today. And I played that same, 65, it tries to break that, and then it's shy of the high. I'll take the failed sort of breakout and then give it a tight stop. So I already lost on that trade. And I'm looking to see if it pulls back. If the market gets going upside here, like some of these names start to recover, I'm starting to think about, okay, well, maybe there'd be some profit taking the other direction on a Ford and GM. And because Ford's got the catalyst and its momentum is so big, I kind of feel like the safer play could be to try that short in GM. I've done it once. I'm going to try it again. And then another name that I'm still in from the morning, well, actually, this is it's actually a separate trade. But I was trading it since the morning, is that GNPX. That came to VWAP twice and then managed to slide back down here towards 250. But it's putting in a higher low with double bottom here at 260 right now. So it's been giving you 20 to 25 cents off its 85 in VWAP. But with the higher low being put in, if volume starts to kick in, I wouldn't come back to this a third time. I think if it approaches 290, 295, it's actually going to break that time. So you'll see me still in it. It's been only short this stock today, but I do not want to be going back into it, in power hour coming up here. If it breaks VWAP, I'm just going to take it out and be happy that it worked out today.
Shout out to you, Bradley Taylor. You are 100% right on Palantir. It's actually the exact stop that I have. I put it a little bit lower, penny lower, but he's mentioning if you're scalping Palantir with something like a 5,000 share default. I mean, the default doesn't matter. You could do it 5 shares. I mean, you still have to be disciplined in what you're doing. And I mean, the bottom today is 78. So, I mean, we've already broken through on the 20-minute. It's already given up the ghost here at 18. So to hold this through what I believe everybody else in the world, like I said, is looking at right now, should not be done. So don't hold it through there. Look, it could bounce right back, and it sucks. But if you've had 5,000 shares on each one of these trades, and you've averaged out 5 to 10 cents each trade, then to take a hit here after being long, I'm long at 81, to take a 3-cent hit when you're wrong on the way back out, yes, Bradley Taylor for the win today. You are 100% right. That's the kind of strategy that you want to do. We don't talk about share size, but it was you who did it. So I think that's exactly what you're thinking about. And I know that you're with us here at Day Trade the World, so our platform allows for those kind of trades. And now, Bradley Taylor, you're starting to think a little bit more like the people's trader. So that's a good one right there for you. And if you like that style, that's just what we're doing, right? Or what I'm doing anyways here on Palantir. Oh, man. I mean, I was looking at the account.
Here's an interesting question. Sorry, I just saw a question that was interesting on there, and I'm assuming Frank Salyers, apologies for bungling that, but how do we use the LOO execution? The limit on open. So we're going to go to Brendan in a second because we have a guest that we'll be excited to see. But the limit on open is just a market on opens for auctions. Limit on open just simply means you put the price that you're willing to accept.
Who's asking that?
It was a Frank here, who's one of our members. And look, you're either using it on halts, you open to the market, close to the market, or on halts, reopens, right? So I use it specifically on IPOs. And the reason I use that instead of a market order is it just means there's a price you're not willing to pay. So you can use an aggressive limit on open order because you want to get into the position. But let's just say, like if Hoth opened up, if I wanted the real open of Hoth, but I didn't want to pay $2, but I'd be willing to pay, say, $1.55, then when it halts at 135, I can put an LOO at 155. And that way, if it opens at 2, I'm like, oh, that's too high, I don't want it. Now, if you use a market order, you're going to get whatever price that might be. And you can put that limit on open order while it's in the halt state. You can put limit on open orders pre-IPO. And then, of course, when you're dealing with auctions, there are specific windows in each market before open and closing auctions where limit on open orders can or cannot be accepted. Make sure you check the individual market to see what their rules might be. But I think they're a valuable tool. I never use market on open orders on IPOs. I never do it. I might put a limit on open order that is so aggressive that it might as well be one, but I love the limit on open orders better, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it allows you to specify the price.
Yeah.
I think for an IPO, I mean, you can use a market on open. And Neil's just saying that for a risk management standpoint. But again, whenever you hit that market key, guys, understand. I mean, Neil's already crushed this, and we're going to go to Brandon in 1 second. But you could get any price, and that's the point. So if you limit it, at least if it opens at 50 and you have a $60 limit, you'll still get filled. So that's sort of the benefit. And I see who it is. I think this is my favorite guest of the day, and he's coming on more regularly. So let's throw it over to Mr. Brendan Wickens with my favorite man.
And that would be Justin Kozach, Day Trade the World marketing guy, back with us once again for an update this afternoon on some hot topics that we've been following. I was just reading an article, Justin. We're going to talk about some IPOs coming up this year. It was a monster year last year for IPOs in general. It was 400 plus billion in value of IPOs. 1 in 3 of those now trading below their IPO price. I'll preface that by saying a big percentage of those were obviously SPACs that have been terrible. So anyways, it was interesting. Just Works coming out with their date today.
Yeah, Just Works, hoping that their IPO just works. Around since 2012, small to medium-sized business HR and payroll company out of New York City, looking to raise $224 million at a $2 billion valuation. No idea on the terms yet when they're going to go live, but looks like it's going to be trading somewhere between 29 and 32 per share under JW on the NASDAQ. So really interesting company, backed by Bain Capital and a bunch of other companies. It looks like B of A Securities, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan are the lead underwriters on this one. So if you're looking for a tech company to invest in and are willing to split the profits with me, JW on NASDAQ looks like it's going to be an interesting one. So
yeah, the first notable name anyways to kind of keep track of as we start off the new year. As I said, very exciting last year for IPOs. I feel like 2020 was great. 2021 was even better than that. So we'll see what happens this year with companies that want to come to market. Nvidia launching, I guess this is a more, I mean, you're in this world a little bit more than I am. This is a more, friendlier priced model or friendlier priced GPU.
Right. So Nvidia looking to disappoint more gamers this year by releasing a video card that nobody can actually buy. Just kidding. Nvidia launching the 3050 GPU, sort of a watered down version of the current, the current 3060, 3070, 30 line of GPU cards for $249. Announcing that at CES today, maybe one of the only companies that I think has gone to CES since everybody pulled out because of COVID. 8 gigs of GDDR6 memory and capable of running 60 plus frames per second in a 1440p resolution environment. So I'm sure lots of gamers will be really excited about that. Now, Nvidia has also struggled with supply lines or supply chain because of, a lack of availability of raw materials. And of course, they've come under fire simply because they've released these products that have been priced very attractively for gamers, only for gamers to struggle to get their products at all. So it will be interesting to see if they are releasing this new card because they feel that they've solved the supply and demand issue, or if they're releasing this card to kind of get a little bit more hype. So I guess we'll find out. Card's supposed to launch on January 27th. So they're pretty typical of them. They will announce a card and then they will release it about a month later. So I guess the proof will be in the pudding, or, the lineups at the local computer store.
You probably know better than me on this. I was just trying to check there quickly. What is a normal one price? Like, what is the one that you mentioned there? What is the price on that? A lot more.
A lot more. I mean, I have a 3070 from MSI, so it basically runs the Nvidia architecture, and that ran me about 800. But if I were to buy that card today, I would be paying significantly more simply because of supply and demand. Everybody's trying to get their hands on them, so naturally the price will go up. Right now, I don't even want to think about how much I would spend. An eye-watering, more than I would care to talk about, and certainly way more than I would actually be able to justify.
You mentioned that kind of watered down, if you will. I like that term, version of CES. That Best Buy news coming out of, I saw CES today as well on the advertising front. Do we want to cover this Elizabeth Holmes thing again? I mean, I feel like it's beaten to death already, but maybe rightfully so.
Right. I mean, we could certainly talk about it. The reality with her is, she's facing an inordinate amount of time for the 4 counts of fraud and conspiracy that she was convicted of. Yesterday? Now, as it often goes with these things, appeal is going to drag on for years for a lot of different reasons. One, the biggest one I think is, she's relatively young. This is probably her first rodeo, hopefully her first rodeo. But, the thing that seems to be kind of hanging over everybody's heads right now is that she is pregnant. So it's not always a good look to send somebody who's, to jail for a significant amount of time when they're pregnant. However, there's a lot of, some big names were wrapped up in this story. According to some of the notes I have here, on 2 of the counts of wire fraud that she was convicted on, one of those individuals was an estate lawyer for Henry Kissinger. So that's not always a good look when you defraud somebody who's related to or involved with somebody like Henry Kissinger. So and also Betsy DeVos and her relatives also claimed that Holmes had courted the company and was really trying to get them involved. Betsy DeVos, of course, for anybody who's following American politics, is the former Secretary of Education during the Trump administration. So sending a message, certainly, with some of the bigger names. She did not get away, but some of the other charges of wire fraud and conspiracy, she was found either not guilty on or there was no verdict. That being said, it's 20 years in prison for every one of the charges that she was found guilty on. So like I said, appeal's going to draw out for another couple of years. Reality is she'll probably spend very little time in prison. And either way, it doesn't change what she did, which was terrible, and certainly there are consequences to be paid for that. So whether she will pay the entire ticket or part of it remains to be seen. Yeah, and will probably, as you said, take some time before we get any kind of clarity on that. But 80 years, I mean, like you said, probably won't be 80 years when all is said and done. Real quick, Twitter down big time today. I just saw almost 5%. Another one of those stocks getting crushed today. They did quietly, I guess. I mean, this headline wasn't really a big one, but they did complete the sale of Mopub and Apploven. Mm-hmm. They've getting a little bit of additional money for the war chest, just north of $1 billion for the sale of Mopub to Apploven. So certainly putting some of that money towards product development. And listen, I mean, the reality is Mopub is kind of, it's had its day, and now it's time for them to focus on other products that are going to help the company monetize and be able to grow the platform and focus more on product development, which certainly seems like the MO of the new CEO, who really wants to push the platform forward and make up for lost time during the from the Jack Dorsey years. Will be interesting to see what happens now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all this group, and in fact, Pinterest today as well, down big time, but just a bad couple of weeks, we'll call it, for these stocks. Anyways, Justin Kozach, Day Trade the World marketing guy at Trader TV Justin on Twitter. Check him out. We will speak to you tomorrow, sir.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. Have a great night.
You too. Macy's, guys, just popping up to day highs, not lows. I bet you a few people thought lows there. Yeah, volume I just saw coming in on Macy's 2820. They're going to cut some store hours because of COVID cases. So that was from CNBC just coming out. But day highs for Macy's here, 3%.
Oh, nice one to add to the list. I mean, you talked about retail a bit earlier in the beginning, and Bed Bath & Beyond, sorry, not Best Buy, Bed Bath & Beyond reports this week. That's why they're in my head. But Macy's a good runner. And look, the short interest that they have always makes them a fantastic trading vehicle. I got to come back to trades because while we're talking with Justin, great info on Threads, we were actually talking about Elizabeth Holmes sort of back and forth here about the nature of what might or may not happen to her in sentencing because of the position she's in. But a firm made a big time run here off of $80 even on volume into VWAP. Now, I know VWAP's right here, and that's the level everyone looks at. But for me, I was looking at this inflection point here. Like the first consolidation this morning, right about 10:30, that broke support was at this 86 level. It then put in a consolidation of resistance in that chop range at just above 85. So when it broke 85, failed to get through that level, and then came back down, it's like, what's that setup? Like fail break of a level after a parabolic move, up or down, take the reversal, and then scalp the trade. So I take it below 85 here. I already got two legs out inside of that consolidation range. I was kind of holding some to see if it would break out of it. But again, just looking for these momentum style wins when you can find a level working off of. And again, one of the reasons why I think psychologically that trade ends up working out is because people that have longs are looking for places to take profit too. And when they see it get to an inflection point like this, in theory, like they're watching when it doesn't break, they're like, oh, I should take some off when it pulls back here. Like it breaks this range, fails to make the high go higher. You trim some of it here. And maybe those longs are still holding on. I suspect that a lot of them would be in a situation like this where it's down 11% and the move had so much volume. But either way, it's a nice little pocket for a sustained short trade if you have missed on the long move. So a firm able to make it work here. Again, counter trend. If it takes out that high, my stop is already placed to get out. Now can't lose on the trade.
People want to talk about a firm. Money. Yo, what's up, Bradley? Bradley Taylor there. We talked about what the plan of action would be here on Palantir, and there it goes. We'll talk about a firm in a minute, but look at, you just talked about a firm, didn't you? Yeah, okay. People are talking about it on the chat, so I didn't want to confuse what I was doing here. But Palantir, nice little move back up to 18. We just cashed them out. You can see exactly what we said. Upside, next out, 90s, 92, 94, 98 right now, and we just cashed out some of this Palantir as finally it starts to go, man. Look, this is good enough for us. We were talking about where we like this stock, what we were up to with this, and there it goes, booming to the upside goes PLTR. Good trade on that one, man. I mean, buy. And again, you know, trade your own book, trade how you trade, but there it is. That's a big one for me. Palantir right there. Let's go. And yeah, buy now, pay never name. A firm continues to make a nice move to the upside off that bottom, man. So great take, right back to VWAP. Consider getting out of some of your trade, but the NASDAQ bump in the night. What goes bump in the night? The NASDAQ right now bumping to higher, I mean, who knows if we're going to get to higher highs here, but we've been making higher highs, and we'll see if we take out this level right here, 16,250 on the NASDAQ. So that's one to consider here into the close as we look, man. But so far, so good. Facebook rips back up right through 336 again. This might be good enough, man. The NASDAQ, like I said, going bump right now. Facebook, $2.50 in the money, probably worth taking a piece out right there. Go Palantir, go. And then check out this one, man. What was an early crying game here for NEO shareholders. Big time movement back up to the upside. I thought I'm trying to get out of this one at 83, as if. I just looked down my price. I can't, honestly, I can't make this up. Like, I just looked down at 83. This went to 82.50 there. So darn it, we miss it by a penny again. So let's put some another offer here because we should get out of some of these here on this name, which is NIO. So we'll watch out for NIO right now, taking out some of these highs right at VWAP. Another good one here as we just start to make some of this money back that we gave up in the upside here. I'm at 83. Watch. There you go. That's how you know right there. So sometimes I wonder, like I question questioned myself, like, are these orders actually there? But there it is right there. It misses us by a penny and then rips it up. We have a little piece left, but that's another winner for us. 250 now. Maybe I'm going to pull this Facebook trade, but you know what? We got to be happy with this. A nice $3 winner here on FB as it's starting to go 35 cents on NEO, and of course the $1.70 right now on Ford. So this name could pull back. We could have a loser on board here, but we are going to get out if it breaks through 24. So right now, Ford almost near a reload spot at 24.10. What a big comeback for the NASDAQ, baby. Good thing we bought some of that. We bought Shopify and CRM today on these lows. So I'm probably already 20 bucks. When did I tweet that out? I'll have to find the price because like Neil here was both on the US side, the Canadian side. So I actually, you know what I actually did? I actually bought this today because I have more money in my Canadian side because I actually hit a home run on a buyout. But I bought some CRM in Canada. So remember we had, I forget who he was from CIBC Wealth Management come through. They have a bunch of different names that are.
There's one in CRM's on that.
Yeah, you can also buy AMZN as well.
Shoot. I was
in
buying
Toronto.
that in the States. Well, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just.
Nah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Buying these in the long term, but you can buy it in Canada as well. I just had CAD liquidity, that's all. But okay, we're not reloaded, but who is Brendan? What's up, buddy?
Just real quick, guys. Alibaba, big move here. Charlie Munger apparently upping his stake in Baba. I want to go back 6 months or so. Maybe it was less than that. Was the initial report of him taking a stake here. So big move for Baba back to 120.
You hit me at 107 that one time. Oh, man.
Okay. Yeah, we were just talking about
Palantir.
Alibaba. Charlie Munger was all over this a while ago. So I'm not ringing any or celebrating anything on Alibaba at this particular point. Yes, it's still, it just went up like a couple of bucks. It's still down in the day, and it's still right in the bottom end of this pocket. So until this breaks 130, 140, there's not a heck of a lot to celebrate here. Good for him that he wants to double down. I've sort of given up the ghost. What little I have left of Alibaba is okay, I'm basically willing to lose it all at this point, and just thinking maybe it's someday the valuation matters for them. That's basically it at this point. It's so weak, and every time it pops, it just gets faded in there. So that's my take on Alibaba. Good for Charlie. Miss V, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, OG1 Kenobi on the chat says, let's get the likes up to 3,000. And indeed, guys, we have more than 3,000 people viewing us, so potentially we can easily get there. But you know what? We're not even at 1,000 yet. So if you forgot or maybe just joined us, please make sure you give us a like right now and support the community. And yes, Rob, having some fun with my green shirt. Guys, if you're working on camera, don't wear green, or wear in this case. I like it.
The money V there.
Yeah,
what do you mean don't wear green? That is one of the best things I've ever seen on the show.
Good job, Rob. Good job,
there. So
man.
Thank you, Rob. That was awesome. I love that. That was an awesome shot. Yeah. I might just wear green tomorrow.
Dude, I have a green chive sweater back there.
I'm not playing around. I may do that.
Seriously, it's big enough. Any of us
that
can
would
wear
be
it.
hilarious.
You can do it on the desk. I accidentally.
What about that Grinch shirt? Maybe I can get away with that, and we'll just.
Yeah, that works. Any green works.
That just looked awesome. Imagine I wear a green hat, and every time you come to me, it's like that Cash Money green on there. It'll be sick. But I don't know if we can do it.
What's the point of having a green screen if you're not going to do stuff like that?
I don't know if I don't know if it will work on these cameras.
Not here, but you have to be at the desk to do it. But
yeah, and as if Brendan's going to be part of that.
Why not?
Why not? Let's ask him. You think Brendan's going to wear green and let that happen to him? Watch this. Brendan, would you let that happen to you?
That?
Yeah.
I don't. First of all, I don't even own a shirt that color, but
I'll buy it for you.
Okay.
Go on.
There's a sweater in the back.
Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Yes. Perfect. Okay.
There's a sweater literally right. Greg.
No, whatever. We'll find his size. We'll get him a nice.
No, it'll fit him.
I know, but it's a sweater.
He can put it on right now.
Oh, right now? No, I want it all day. I want to Cash Money on Brendan every day. Just to have some fun here. But okay, good. All right, nice. All right, that'd be kind of cool to do that. Anyways, sick job there, Rob. That was awesome. Okay, we are not reloaded on Facebook, but I wish I was, man. I wish we were reloaded down here. Facebook right now, it's starting to take out some of these highs that we talked about, and it's starting to move. You see the NASDAQ just took out, or I thought it did, but trying to take out this level of 16,250 right here. bounce off of it. Let's see what it does right now on this level, but a nice bounce back. We've made back quite a bit. We are down about 0.5% more than this at its lows. As you can see, NASDAQ just, I have no idea what happened here. I mean, this is the open. This is the open, sorry. This is 9:30, obviously in Chicago time. So 10:30, it was just like, see you later to the downside right there. But wow, a big move up there. Did I just get filled on something? What was that? No, nothing. Okay, so just looking at Palantir, we're starting to cash out a little bit of that as it's starting to break out. If we can get view up, we talked about 1810 the whole time. But again, man, out of this position here, I only have 25% left. So we are starting to cash out of this one. But again, you know, the money's coming in finally here on PLTR as it goes back to 1803. And I knew if I did this long enough, obviously I wasn't going to have everything on board, because you can't. If I'm going to follow my own rules here and scalp this out and look like a algo, there's no way you can get out and say I still have 80%. So like, I'm not going to sit here and lie and act like, not to say other stations do, but we're already out of the majority of this trade because was not expecting this. Okay, so now we're almost out. I'm going to put another offer right now, take some 03s and just move on from this trade. But this has been a good one for me today, Palantir. I think I'll probably tweet this out and get mocked because people will be like, oh, that's not how you trade. But hey, when it's making some cash, this is how I trade. So let's wait to see where we go. Palantir to the upside.
Yeah, you got to do you, ultimately, in every facet, not just trading, in every facet of life. You basically have to do you. I said when if the NASDAQ continued to push higher, that I kind of like the notion of looking at, I picked GM not 4, and I gave the reason sort of before because it doesn't have the catalyst, the specific catalyst. Jim went nowhere. So I like the idea that maybe this could come back in, and when the market starts to rally, when tech starts to rally. So I did put on the short when it did absolutely nothing. I think I can give it to some of it to the lower high here at 84, but I can also give it to that 66 top. The first bids are going to be down around this 65 support and then at VWAP. So, and again, I understand the market's moving up, but this is a name which has been moving opposite, counter to the overall market. And a lot of times when you get a huge bounce, the high-flying names that have been sort of resisting that move can come back in where there's profit taking. So that's a look that I'm trying to pull off here in GM. And I'm doing the same thing on Hoth. Like someone was like, yeah, Hoth is going again. Look, man, like this stock, it's kind of barcoding, to be honest, but every time it pops up and goes to like 40, sort of 43 to 45, it's like short, and then it comes right back into like 33 to 35. It's just going back and forth. And eventually, I suppose it's likely that it could break out at 150. But in this tight range, I'm going to kind of continue to go back to the well, back and forth. Was able to just sort of scalp some out there again, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as it works. And that market continues to run here, guys. Affirm, like I said, the baby short. It looks like a baby trade, and it kind of is off that 85, 86 level, more like 85, but then stop out on the tight stop and then walk away from it. So get in, get out by identifying where I think the curl can be, so that if it does make the curl at that level, I'm getting into it. If it actually blows through 85 and then right through 85.50, right through 86 up here, then I'm never putting that trade on. It has to fail where I'm expecting it might fail. And that's the key thing, because then I know where I'm going to be wrong on the trade, and it's easier to stick to your rules. And I'm not sitting there thinking it's going all the way back to $80. No chance I'd ever hold on to it that long. As far as the firm goes, like when something breaks, like Shop in a firm today, breaking that 200 period, breaking support, at that point, like, you know where the momentum is going to be. And when it puts in a reversal, as fast as things go down or up, they can reverse in that same way. So when you go counter trend, which in this case was shorting it off that monster pop on big volume, I'm going to go for that baby win, just like shorting Tesla off 1200 yesterday. That was going for the baby win as well. Just take the profits where they lie. Some people might shoot for a bigger win there, but again, you structure the trade how you see it. So that's what I'm going to do over there in Affirm. For now, GM's going to be basically flat. I did want to check back on Nvidia daily chart of no use. It's getting close to VWAP here. If you were looking at that same Affirm setup, Nvidia is right here at its inflection point, that 290. So were it to break 290, fail to get through VWAP, and the market shows any weakness here, NASDAQ 1625 is the key level. That could set up for the same short as Affirm. Of course, it would have to give you that failed break, which it has not done yet. Was that Brennan?
Coca-Cola, one having a pretty good day here. I was just double checking. I think this is actually all-time highs. 60.13 was the previous. So yeah, we are at all-time highs for KO today. Guggenheim, among a few from Guggenheim on the upgrade side of things today, was KO.
Yeah,
Are we talking about Guggenheim?
Not KO himself. KO the stock. Yeah, the Guggenheim Museum. We're talking about architecture.
Yeah. It was,
Bradshaw. He wasn't sure where he heard that from.
Yes, which I'm sure that's where everybody's heard it. Because look, man, when you got money, you get to sponsor things, and then you get to put your name on things that are important, right? So good for them, man. Like, why not, right? Like, your family legacy lives on forever when you got your name attached to something like that. So I'm not going to hate on them at all. I do have a couple of trades on from this morning. FLGC is one of them. Just to let you know, if this thing breaks back above VWAP, I'm getting out of it. So I have a bit of a trailing stop on this. So sometimes you sit in something that's a short all day long to get that last 10 or 20% for the big win. It couldn't really hold any lower. Than that $2 level. If it gets back there, I want to be getting out. We have 45 minutes to go. Tomorrow should be an interesting day because you have the two-day meeting for the Fed, and then they'll get the minutes tomorrow. That should be very, very interesting, especially with the day that we had here today. I want to see how the reaction is to the job numbers, and then if there's any indication that they might change the speed of the taper. Remember, overall, like the fact that they're going to be flexible on taper is good for day traders because that means every single time they meet, you might get a shock to the market, which gives you actionable trades, but also means every single time they meet, you got to pay attention to them, which you haven't had to. Like the last few years, it's like, they're not doing anything except supporting the market. So there hasn't been that much excitement, but at any point, they can change the speed of the taper in either direction. And that's going to signal things for the market and how many rate hikes there might be for this year. So we get to pay attention to the Fed, which is something we're familiar with every single meeting. Like years ago, that was a normal thing. Every single time they met, you'd care about it. Now we get to see that sort of come back in here 2022.
Yep, for sure. It should be an exciting one as finally, they're looking to do something different than what they've done before. So we'll see. I don't expect anything too crazy, but it is what it is with said Fed. So what just happened there? I got out of something, did I? No, I did not. Okay, that's fine. So Facebook right now, it's already had a nice move upside, obviously, here in the market. If we break down below 336.25, I can zoom in a little bit here. It's not necessarily a technical level. It's just kind of like this top right here. So we're going to give this one as 336.40. You wick it down a little bit down into here, 336.20. I just don't, I don't need it to fall back into this area because then I don't really have a plan of action down here. So we'll see if it goes up to 337 as well, where VWAP is. That's going to be an out. So well-structured plan of action here, I believe. Anyways, looks like we'll be getting close to taking $3. Well, it's $2.75. Sorry, on Facebook right now. So hey. $3 winner, man. There it is. So there it is. We'll close out the trade. Finally, Facebook comes back in and we make a hell of a lot back than what we threw away right here. So out. That's $2.75. We are now out of Facebook, and we could just move on from that. So that is Facebook, and now we'll just talk about a 23-cent winner that we have right now on Palantir, looking to get higher. Coming close to an out right now. I might as well put one at 07 and take that if we can, and then just move on from that name. Ford trying to come upside as well, back up to 24. So yeah, there it is. We actually just got an 07 right there on Palantir. So yes, sir. Now through 08. Look at this. What a winner on Palantir, man. To the moon it goes. It's Mr. Wiccan's neighborhood.
eHang International. I was just introducing our friend Randy to eHang International's flying car. For those who are not familiar, I'll show you it in a second. But EH up 5% today, having quite the day here, back to day highs. If you're not familiar, they make this thing that's like an individual drone, essentially, for your individual flying pleasure. But eHang, guys, having quite the day, up 5%.
The funny thing is, like Randy and I were just talking about it. It's kind of cool and interesting looking, and obviously at some point, maybe that'll be viable. eHang is not necessarily the highest volume name, and obviously the chart's going to tell you a little bit about the story here. But I always talk about inflection points. I just talked about them on the day trade. If you start thinking about that same notion with an eHang on the daily. You look at a support level all the way back into May when this got woodshedded at about $18.80 to $19, and then you look at a recent high it put in just lower than that. So it's a couple of bucks away from trying to break that level, let alone the 50 period. I think that's where you might get excited on a momentum base for something like an eHang. And again, this is just sort of like spitballing when looking at the technicals. Always, when in doubt, zoom out. Like I showed you guys how much it sucked not zooming out on Tesla at least a little bit to be able to watch that 1125 level here today. And again, I'm going to end up paying the price for it because it gave you that wick bottom. Like, this is what happened when it got to that 25. Like, it's even on, I showed you a 15-minute chart. On the 1 minute, it's still just as crazy of a wick through that downside. So it is what it is. You always want to make sure you zoom out a little bit, get that higher time frame look. Regardless of what kind of trader you happen to be, I think having a multi-time frame look at any kind of a chart, whether you like a 1-5-15 or 1-15-60 or 1-15 daily, it doesn't really matter.
I'm back.
I know, like, she always went to the bathroom. I'm assuming the bathroom.
Yep.
I'm going to have to refill my water in a bit here,
no,
so I'll probably do the same thing. Yeah, smoke, okay.
I'm back. Yeah.
That I know. That
was like a 20 second. Yeah. No, like I'm trying to finish this off. I'm at like 3 p.m. So I'm a little bit. It's more like 2 p.m.
Anything at lunch?
Yeah. So I don't drink this throughout. I got to like focus on this and get this finished. But I can just bring it home and finish it. But whatever. I'm trying to get it done here today. Okay. So I missed whatever you're talking about. Tesla there maybe.
You got hang up, and I was just.
Isn't that the helicopter?
Yeah, the drone looking.
Yeah. Ain't nobody going in that thing.
Look at the daily chart on it. I'm just saying.
Whatever, man. I don't want to look at no charts. I don't. E-hang. I know it's probably way up, right? But whatever.
Way up.
On today,
it's up today. I don't know. The daily chart.
Oh no, that's not an investable product, in my opinion, anyways. But again, that's an uneducated one, as you can see, which most are. Okay, so just looking ahead there, we just did get out of that Facebook. Hopefully, it was the right move. Apparently not, as you're right back up to 336.50 again. Whatever. We rang the register on that one for $2.50, so that was a good win. It looks like Netflix starting to come back upside as well. Twitter, let's look at Twitter quickly. 52-week low here on Twitter as well. Yeah, okay. I don't know, man. A nice little bottom. The 52-week low was 41.01, I believe. 41.01 before today. Now every down print is a new 52-week low, every low that it breaks. But Twitter on the way back up. I don't like this name. Just trying to see what other social medias are doing. Let's check out Snapchat quickly here. 43.60 back upside. Yeah, this looks a little bit better on some momentum back up, but I think we nailed it with Facebook, man. That was crap. Right up to 337 again. Darn you, Facebook, but whatever. Palantir still working, Facebook working, Miss V working. What's up?
Guys, we've got a super chat from Carlos T. Please CLF. Guys, do you have any opinions on CLF today?
Asking for my opinion on that one. I can't even hear anything that she's saying today for some reason. CLF, okay, we'll have a look at that. Cliff Naturals here. Let's have a quick look, see what is happening here. Up 5%. I mean, these names will continue to work. I'm an owner of Nucor. Come on, charts. Oh, man, what is going on here today with these charts? Hello, Cliffs. Up 6%. It made a nice move back to 20 when this loads. You'll be able to see that. And there it is on the 20-minute chart. We were just at $20 5 days ago. What a nice little 10-15% move upside. Now 22 and change coming through on Cliffs. And here's the daily chart that I'm talking about. This is that 20 area. There's also FCX. If you want to get a mining play in, these are nice ones down here. Nice little bottoms. It's ticked down to 19 a couple times there. FCX, I see you reloaded the water there as well. Good call, and stay hydrated here. 19 and change there on CLF is another one. FCX could be a name that you want to look at moving forward. Wow, $42. Some of these names are like left for dead. They're like, that's still CLF. But look at that before I switch charts, because obviously, this is not FCX. But this is what I mean by left for dead. Like $2 or $3, man. Like you're at 10x right now from these bottoms on CLF. So forget about looking at Google or Facebook and talking about picking that up on the low. Like what about some of these names? FCX is another one here. Now it will load. Another name that's going to work today. Like I said, the only real industrial that I'm in, and I should get more diversified, so I obviously know that. That's what I'm trying to do, is Nucor. But right now, FCX, again, look at this bottom here on FCX. $8-9 and even lower. And like this is better, man. $4, like it's the same time. 10x upside here on FCX. I think this has been a little bit too far, too fast here the last couple of days. But either way, man, in this new economy, these names look like they want to continue to work. So FCX right here, another good play. Anybody want into the mining? Remind me, maybe you guys know some ETFs. There must be better ones than just investing in individual names. I'd never actually even looked up a mining ETF. There has to be a few of them. The
one thing about ETFs that can be a little bit tricky is what do you do when when you have an account for a long time, right? Like what'll happen is you'll pick times to buy individual stocks, and then over the years you'll find yourself, or at least I will say, you'll find yourself in like 3 or 4 things in the same sector that you bought at different times. And then when you start looking at the ETF, it's like, well, I already have sort of a diversified portfolio within that sector. What do I want to do with it? So you can, in that particular case, tweak what you own or start to trim positions off in something like some of those plays, right? So you take your profit in that, and then when there's a chance to rotate back in, like if I was going to take profit on Morgan Stanley, in theory, you take profit on Morgan Stanley, and then when you want to buy back into the banks, you can then buy the ETF. Now, the XLF in that particular, or if you like something else, like maybe like a Vanguard product, I don't really know. That's one way to go about it, especially when you find yourself in that spot, because it can be tricky to want to buy an ETF. Like someone asked me about Meta, which like when Facebook announced their name change to Meta, the first thing I did in the show was show you guys the Meta ETF. But I didn't buy any of it because when I looked at it, no word of a lie, like the only things that are in the Meta ETF that are above 3% that I didn't already own was like Unity and Roblox. So it's like you essentially already were invested in it implicitly. So it just wasn't a heck of a reason to get overly aggressive in buying it. And that doesn't mean that I don't think it was good. Like I was asked today if I thought it was a good dip buy. I'm like, yeah, it makes some sense, but it's not something that I'm using to get into because as far as I'm concerned, I'm already exposed enough to it.
You would have lost money if you bought it anyways.
Yeah, today, yeah.
Well, just on the Facebook name change. It's down.
Yeah, it is actually down.
Yeah.
But again,
I bought Facebook at 310 that day, and Facebook's 340 today.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, your individual names did pretty well there. But if you look at some of the names that are in there, like with the exception of a couple, a lot of people who if you have a diversified portfolio, you might already own these things. Like a lot of the heavy chip makers are in there. Amazon's in there. Now I'm going to be blanking on some of these names. Amazon, Intel, AMD, Nvidia.
Probably Roblox.
Roblox is like number 2 or number 3.
Is it? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's huge. It's huge in there,
Pretty
right?
aggressive.
So, and of course, Facebook or Meta is in there as well. So it's not as if it's anything terribly obvious. But if you're not exposed to any of those names, and that's the key thing. If you're starting out and you don't have those names in your portfolio and you're looking to get into like-minded or similar names, then all of a sudden it makes some sense to get into it. It's just a little bit different sometimes when you're already exposed.
As if, like Neo just ticks out right where we wanted it to, and right now Facebook continues to fly. Man, we got this $1 ago. Wow, missed opportunity there holding that, but still, really super glad that we had this trade to begin with. I mean, that's the whole point. But missed opportunities holding that. Whatever. I would have got out at 337, but still. Huge move up here for Facebook, and we had that from the bottom. So that was, made that money back. That was a good trade. Some people are yelling about Unity. Look, I love Unity software. Not in this name. You guys know I'm at Roblox, $75, already long Roblox. This has been a name that's been beat down lately, Unity, and continues to make moves to the downside. Obviously, it's a big runner off the bottom here as the NASDAQ has come back, but you can see what Unity's doing, and it's not nice, man. Unity has been getting crushed all the way down there. Video game makers, they have the software where you can code and make different games. I believe Among Us, right here, shout out to Mr. Cheese and family right now. This game, I believe, is made using Unity. But anyways, there's a few other games. So you want to talk about the metaverse and making things easier. This is one here, Unity, which honestly, at these levels, I mean, this is almost another one that I bought. But like I said, you want to get into these names, I really feel like ARK, KK, or there's a few different ARK products that may focus more. Just see what they hold. But there's a lot that are going to be in there that hold some of these meta names and some of these future names here that are not traditional. So you may want to look at that instead of the individual name, but nothing wrong with sprinkling as well. Like I've stepped into UiPath as well, and that's a name that, honestly, I don't think, I'll have to check my pricing, but I don't think I'm in it too crazy. Obviously, I'm not in it at this price, but come on, change. Obviously, I'm not in it at today's prices is what I was getting at, but I still think, see, it looks almost like Unity. I think I'm in it somewhere around here, 44, 45. Might have even started the position here around 48 on this dip, but again, why bother to sort of pick some of these prices when you can pick the ETF? Now, I know, obviously, the ETF, people saying probably that you pay a fee. I think it's what is Kathy with, 0.75 or 0.5?
It's always from half to like, at worst 2, but usually half to 1, something like that.
It just gives you, I mean, it's a self-managed, instead of self-managing your own, you're going to pay an active manager, what I consider to be not that much. Obviously, when you're managing billions, it adds up for her and her team. But again, as an individual investor, I don't mind paying something like that. But anyways, that's on ARK. So let's just move off that right now. Palantir, people are saying check Palantir. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, we're checking in our checking account as well here today with Palantir as that just continues to make the moves to the upside. I'm holding out for this now. So we'll wait to see where it goes. But yeah, of course, we like Palantir over here. I actually like it a lot. But that's a few days in a row now that we've built off this base here of $17.90, $18. So I don't know, man. I mean, another red day. Like if this opens below here tomorrow, then we are putting on our short cap and shorting this as much as we can. So let's wait to see what Palantir does. Don't love the name, but don't hate it either at these levels. I just needs to keep bumping, man. Like I really want to see this thing above 20 so that we can get more aggressive on our long-term positions. But right now, it's kind of just hovering near lows. Very dangerous name. Yeah,
it's one of those, like, you gotta be able to play the momentum. And sometimes for stocks that get beaten down, it's when it breaks out that you like it better. Reliant here, weird level, but this is now a double bottom off of 880 or 882 or VWAP, whatever you want to call it. But it hasn't gotten back to that 10 level, so you're still putting in lower highs as far as I'm concerned at this point. But it is a bit of a double bottom. It looks pretty good. If it wants to hold that level, I think it's going to be set up for us to be able to trade off that $10 tomorrow. No guarantees just yet because it put in that lower high. If it continues this move, half an hour left. So if it were to continue this move quickly and get to a failure at 10 even, I'd still trade it off the $10 level. But as with all trades off of high of day, whether it's a breakout or a fade trade, we have to be flat at the end of the day as a day trader. So I put a time limit on those. I'm never trying to do it in the last 10 minutes of the day. You want to have some time for the trade to work for you, unless it's like a really, really quick scalp trade. You're just in and you're out in like a couple of seconds or maybe like half a minute or so. But that's not the plan with something like the $10 level in either direction here. So I'm watching for Relay to hopefully make that move. It's one of the names that is strong on the small cap space, is getting up to those highs, as opposed to I mean, like GMPX and Hoth, just barcoding, and you can scalp them off a little bit or just take profits where you lie. But they're not really doing a heck of a lot. Whereas Reliant is actually making some moves still towards that end of the day. Checking back in on a couple of other ones. CCL was a good trade yesterday, and then today it did what NEO did yesterday, where it broke out, gave you a good breakout trade at 22, and then if you held on to any of it, it stopped you out, and then it's been coming back in. But it's still up on the session, and worth noting, I mean, the trend hasn't really been broken. That previous high, the 2180, which was a good short before we had the break, that certainly looks like it's still going to be holding right here, right now. It's right at that particular level. So if it closes above that 2180, which it's pretty close to doing, it'll be up on the session, still in the midst of that breakout. So we'll still be on the watch list, despite the fact that we're not talking about it right now, because look, it's barcoding at VWAP. It's tech that's moving, but we cannot forget about these reopened type of names for the day trade, because CCL has been a great trading vehicle. It was awesome, obviously, on the short side. I can sort of show you. Oh, my trades don't want to show up here today. Yeah, that's fine.
I have CCL.
I mean, I don't know if he shows you, like, we had the 21 break on it the other day, and then the 2180 short, and then you had today the 22 breakout. So I think it's still going to be something which should be on the watch list for tomorrow morning, and to the long side, especially if it can hold up at 2180. Although it's battling that level right now.
So that's what we did on CCL today. We took initially the long at 22. We talked about that. We actually got that in the pre-market. Got it out 22.14, got some out at 22.30, held the last third, averaged in down here, and then took it out for a nice win again for us on CCL. So CCL was a profitable name for us, but again, like in the afternoon, not much going on unless you look at that 2150 level. And we'll look at that tomorrow. That's part of why I use the 20 period chart there. The 20-minute chart gives me a little bit of a broader look at some of these plays here and some of these levels. So we'll identify that tomorrow, 2150. And again, guys, check out today we have over 50 retweets. I think it's 55 retweets or so on this, with a lot of likes as well. So thank you once more time for all the support on the sticky note. We had CCL on there, and of course we had the Ford long. I mean, we had the Ford long on the sticky note from down here, man. Like when we tweeted it out, it was like, we're long, get long right now. That was 22.20, and then a lot of love on this reload as well, because we called that it was going to dip a little bit off the open, and then it was just like take off, and now you're basically at day's high. I've been trying to buy back into this at 10s. Obviously, Obviously, again, it only dips to 12. I didn't even notice that. And now it's back up to 30. So it doesn't look like Ford will be anything for us here on the close, unless it somehow dips down. Remember, in now what is 17 minutes,
Imbalance.
16 and a bit, you have the imbalances. So that could affect Ford. And then we are almost out now. We have less than 5% of our Palantir trade left. Obviously, we just stick that order right there at 08, get out of a nice amount there as that was right at VWAP, and then we spiked above. We took that opportunity to get out another piece there of Palantir as well. So now it's very, very small, and we have nothing to do but celebrate sort of that last little move there on Palantir. That's a good day for me here on that name. Over 200 fills I have today, which is ridiculous. We fought, oh my God, look at...
I have a number that's not even...
Oh man, look at Facebook. Just, there it goes, man. I wish we still had this because we were long right here, 333. So what was only a $3 winner, so is now $4 to $5 as it keeps on ripping to the upside. Looks like we picked the right name here on a rebound. Facebook continues to work, and that's that name change thing. The last time I bought this was 310. Roughly the day, I believe, was early November, maybe late October when they switched it over. Facebook, I believe, is still a working name here and something that's going to continue to work. Remember yesterday when I said, you know, Tilray, everyone's like, look at Tilray, and, you know, it's way up. Maybe this is the breakout.
Not anymore.
Yeah, maybe, right. Not. These stocks aren't breaking out, man. Like, and I say this as a disgruntled shareholder as well. Like, I own these shares. I mean, anybody that owns Tilray or CGC or anything like that, it's just straight down. It's never coming back. I mean, you're going to, basically, you'll get little bumps back. Like, if we can get lucky enough to get to 13. I mean, getting to 13 is a 100% move. Like, like it was just at 13 back in November, and it's just like all the way down. So I don't know. I mean, I don't hold a lot of it, but you know, at one point it was a big position. Not big, but you know, Tilray and Afri. I told you the shares merged, so that's why you know, I do have some Tilray. But at the same time, man, just all the way to the downside. The same thing for CGC continues to be up in smoke. So some of these plays now, like I said, you're better off lighting your stocks on fire and smoking them, because right now CGC is not giving you, you know, that high THC count.
You know what's weird?
That maybe you're looking for.
And Alan, it was Alan Newton. I was just checking this out when you're talking about that, but Sundial's up 4% today. Like that's, I don't even understand that. I'm like, Sundial up when those are down. If I had noticed that, I'd probably be losing money shorting it, to be honest, because that usually is like that's.
Wait
like
a second,
that's it is up, man.
I know, but
it's like I'd
see.
usually be shorting it, and if it's up at 65 and I can't figure out a reason why it's doing this, then it's probably going to be a short tomorrow. We don't always trade penny stocks. When you're a day trader, I don't really discriminate too much. I do want to talk quickly about Uber here, because when I sat down, we talked about it this morning, I was looking for a breakout on Uber or up at this high here. Now, it's a little bit late in the day to want it when it came in. And when it had fallen down, I kind of canceled my order. But this on the daily chart, that 44.35 area, it then made a double top here going back into yesterday's action. So when we're sitting here at the morning, I was looking for that breakout trade. Once it takes out this low, I mean, I'm going to cancel that order, that 43.30, and that's also support here before. Once that's gone, I'm not looking at the breakout trade, but that now, if it can be a bit of a floor or base to work off of, or even a consolidation tomorrow and a breakout of the same level or a tightly made high here, those are all trades I'd be looking for a recovery for Uber. I like them for a lot of reasons. Like, one, their valuation's pretty good relative to other names, like relative to like Lyft or I suppose like a DoorDash, something like them. And at the end of the day, it's a bit of a reopen style play as well. And it's been beaten up. And instead of like trying to catch the absolute bottom, I've owned shares for a while, the stock, but instead of waiting for it to make a bottom, you're getting it off a higher low and bouncing onto 50 period. Like, it's already starting to go. So when the market came back in, like, this is a name which is bounced, but you're not on those bad lows. Like, you're actually trying to hold some higher support and then making a break into the next level up. So it's like waiting for it to start to go, waiting for the buying to come in, waiting for the selling to stop, and then trying to get into it. And I think that's what I'm seeing here in Uber. GM, which is not good morning. It's someone was like, do you short Ford? I saw someone as you were talking about Ford saying, do you short it? I've been in GM going sideways. It tried to spike to the lower high. It's about 13 minutes till imbalances come out. And to be honest with you, I might have to start trimming this close to flat or for like 10, 15 cents of a loss or something like that, because the thought occurred to me, Today, there's a really decent chance that Ford and GM are going to have imbalances. I would say that's not going too far on a limb. And if they're buy imbalances, this could take out the top. So sitting in a position that's not doing anything right into 350, you're basically asking for it. Because what will happen is if you have a stop order and it goes against you, you're just going to get triggered out like that. So if I can trim the position and take some off, I might just do that. I still have 10 minutes to go here. But unfortunately, when the market came up, there was no reversal in GM. So good for them that they're just following Ford's coattails. Here up 7.5%. I thought when it slowed down, when things slow down, they would actually start to come back in, and I would put that bet on GM. Tried it twice today, and neither time has worked yet.
Bradley wants to know, does AMD have the chance to get to 200 by end of year? Of course it does. I mean, end of year, try half year for AMD, Bradley. I mean, I really, really like this name. You know, it would be a big move. I mean, getting up to 200 this year might be a big move. I mean, this company has basically come from nowhere in the last couple of years. So AMD, unfortunately, our charts will have these wicks on them, and I'll have to edit them. But let me just go over here and bring down an e-signal chart here quickly for you. Yeah, just, you know, it's been a monster. Needless to say, I first started buying this off of this here, 50. So this is where, I mean, I wish I would have got, sorry, 50's down here. What am I talking about? This is a while ago. Off this base down here, 50. So this is where I started buying it. But, you know, even if you go back, I mean, this was a $30 name back in 2019, and now you're up to 144. So obviously execution's been right on point for AMD. I like to buy this at the consolidation point. So we were buying it hand over fist at 50. It's the same reason why we're long JP Morgan at 80 and why we're long Simon Property Group at 60. Shout out to Daryl as well, as Palantir is going off right now to the upside. Darn it, wish we had all of that on board, but that's okay. So anyways, needless to say here, oh no, my charts are now frozen, I think. Oh no, now I can't even move this one. Oh God, this could be disastrous here. But anyways, I think I can't even move this chart over now. Oh no, now I have this.
What happened?
Oh God, oh God. All right, let me just move this off. But anyways, we were already at 160, and the point is that to get up to 200, I think it takes a bump here, Bradley, but I wouldn't really like, you know, unless you're really, really bullish on the sector. I don't know if I'd be buying calls or not on AMD, but I really like the name. If the NASDAQ continues to run, it's going to be led by the chip sector, in my opinion anyways. So, you know, I like this play, but hey, to call 200 from 140, a little bit bold, but can it get there? Yes, it can. So to answer your question, yes. We'll see where it goes from here, but I like AMD, and I don't think you can go wrong buying it even at 144 today. So that's my talk there, but I think the NASDAQ could pull back a little bit more over the next couple of weeks. So watch out. Remember, we have what, FOMC tomorrow, right? So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like you know, sort of understand, like we're just a couple of days, trading days into the new year. You know, the Santa Claus rally ends today. You get the Fed as well. You start getting economic data coming in. You'll come into earnings season. There's just a lot of reasons why you don't have to rush in. I know the calendar flips, and everyone, you make those contributions into, well, I mean, some people make your contributions into whatever registered account you might have at the beginning of the year, and you're like, yeah, let's race to get that money to work. Great question here was about the do we like it? Because we talked about, I know Brennan talked about LAC. Lithium play for this year, and we talked about this in the EV space, and we talked about ETFs. So okay, so the ETF, does it look pretty good here? Now, obviously, I tend to like to buy things at dips and value. So I would say I'd rather be buying this thing at 80 to 78. That's easy to say if you already are exposed to it. Obviously, a lot of times, but I also just talked about the notion of getting something as it breaks up. Now, I don't have the 2020 period that you're going to be talking about here, Goldman, but that's perfectly fine. I think if you pop that on here, you're going to see a pretty decent and significant levels that you can play off of. And if you like exposure to something like the EV space without having to say pick a name, then I think lithium's a good way to go. Like, I think they're going to be, look, at the end of the day, supply is going to be a potential issue there, which is another catalyst for it. It's a gorgeous looking chart that just recently found support, so you're catching it off of a bounce and a consolidation. So yeah, there you go. I mean, like I said, I have Lithium Americas as my choice, but there is nothing wrong with initiating in ETFs, right? So good look here. I'm glad you brought it up because it's not one that I really pay too much attention to, but it's something that you might want to have a quick look at there. So LIT, go for it. 7 minutes to go. I did take out that FLGC because anything that's sort of sitting there, not moving or in the money, you might want to take it out because we have to be flat at the end of the day. So just trimming some positions. I'm kind of eyeballing Tesla here because as the market, and this is worth noting, like the market, the NASDAQ's still climbing, by the way, right? Like you're still seeing it run. Tesla, not even getting to VWAP. It is just going sideways. So, look, we talked about the whole valuation thing here. I think it's a lot of names that went pretty parabolic that are bouncing, and it's also a lot of some quality names that got caught up in this. Tesla is doing its own thing, and I think that's what we're going to have to treat it as, because it's so extreme in terms of its valuation, the momentum that it has, that it's not always going to be able to sort of rally when you get that pullback. So I know you'd think that Tesla would be ripping through VWAP and up at like 1165, 1170. Sometimes it's going to move to the beat of its own drum. And I'm going to stop thinking that Tesla would ever follow the market. When it makes big moves, it's going to drag the market with it. But to think that it's going to follow the market in a bounce and assume so, I'm not going to be on board with that for 2022. It's kind of a $1 trillion company does not usually move like this. So you've got to treat it like a unicorn that it is.
Yeah, Tesla, violent mover, but good comeback today on that name. And it's funny, you're talking about Tesla. I'm going to go over to NIO right now. Just getting ready to clean out of this position here today. Yeah, so if we take out this 70 level, we're going to get out of it. We're long at 58. We rode this up as high as we could. I mean, I thought, I did think that we would kind of pull back in here. The one thing to note is, do your homework tonight, and this is kind of the stuff that we do when people ask, what are you looking at? I tweeted out there when we did that tobogganing there on Sunday, and it was like, time to go home and look at some charts. And really, it's just like people are like, well, what are you looking at? What are some of the things you look for? And it's just, like right here, look at this market. I mean, it pulled way up here. Like it's like boom, boom, boom. And then you look at a stock like NIO, although on a smaller scale, sure, it's starting to go back to the upside, but definitely not, aggressive like the market. I mean, I always talk about the market as in the NASDAQ, so you can see most of the names I trade will be like that, especially here on the show. But, it's not moving definitely with the S&P, as the S&P is the same chart today, upside. So, this is a name where I'm going to look for weakness in, the opposite of what you may think. Even though you're down 5% today, it's not catching these bids. It's just, it hasn't made that move up, right? So, sure, it's made a move from the very bottom, but even then, like 60 cents, it's not strong enough here on a move back, and you're never going to call the very bottom. It's just, this has been a tough go. So that's kind of the stuff that we look at when we're talking about different names and how they relate. Brendan brought this up. Actually, Brendan, was one of your words, beta, right? Like, what is the beta of the stock in consideration with the market? So you could see right here with NIO, obviously not a very strong one, as it isn't following exactly the way I would like it to. But what's up, Brendo?
Huge days, though, for EV stocks, so a pullback may be needed. A little one, random little one, just popping up here. AACG going crazy into the close here, guys. $2 being tested currently on ATA Creativity Global, Chinese company. Heads up on that one.
Well, obviously everyone should be long AACG before this happened.
Yeah,
I mean household name.
Clearly. I mean, the daily chart's it's kind of funny. Like, you kind of know what you're going to see when you pull a daily chart up here, even before Brennan finished saying it. But it's going to be on my radar for tomorrow. If it wasn't 346, and I'm almost like 99% sure I'm going to have to pay for shorts. I'll double check in a quick second. But it's going right into like 220, 225, which would be the most obvious inflection point on the daily chart. It just got to 210. So if you somehow happen to be in it, that's where I'd be looking to trim it. Speaking of trim positions, I said as we got closer to 250 that if it wasn't working, I just have to get out. I don't care where it is. I took out half the position on GM. Yeah, it's going to be like, well, what's the point of doing that? I just think imbalances are coming out in 3 minutes. And if I made a short list of names that are likely to make some kind of a move at 350 on an imbalance, I would put GM and Ford somewhere near the top of that list, if not at the top. Ford is notorious, I guess famous or notorious, doesn't really matter, for having big imbalances, at least initially. Like, it's a kind of stock that'll do that, especially at the open. So for either of these to make some kind of a spike right at 350, I think is a decent probability. I think trade some of those high flyers this late in the day sort of with your own. I would never buy those at those highs, so I wouldn't be flipping to that and buying $2 in that AACG, but it's good enough to add to my quote board so that I make sure to check it in the morning and make some notes on it if I think it's going to be a bit of a runner. A name that Brendan brought to us that we didn't, in our chat, that we didn't talk about, that's pushing through highs, Caterpillar. Breaking out, I mean, it's also the 200 period. All I'll say about this is if you're looking for places like to trim, this stock gets close to 225. It's been a pretty good run. I'd be looking to trim some of this, at least myself, just looking at what that, just looking at what happened here the last time it hasn't been able to break out of that 225 range. And so I think taking a little bit of profit, because it's been a pretty good scalp trade from like the 180, 190, 195 up into that range. Certainly if you got a cross at some point, that 50 getting above that 200, which sometimes is pretty bullish, that can be a reason to get back into it and stop getting into the point of where you'd want to take profit on it. But, you know, for now, I think it's a safe name for the year. I still like it, but in the next couple of days, we see 225. I think that's a decent place to take a little bit of profit and then put that money to work somewhere else. But Caterpillar super strong today on volume. Probably not too much of a surprise given what has been strong today. Although the NASDAQ is roaring back, it has been the Dow and the ES sort of leading the charge to the upside, at least early on. Caterpillar, one of those names.
Yeah, we'll get ready to only 2 minutes right now before we go here. And not before we go, before the imbalances do come out. So, what's up, Sam Goldman there, talking about a few different names. And yeah, I mean, I like Wynn this year as well. We've talked about that working, WYNN here over on the NASDAQ, I believe. Yeah, got it right that time. But yeah, I think Wynn can work this year. We've talked about that with, LVS is another name. That's going to be a New York name if I am not mistaken on that one. Yay, okay, good, 2 for 2. But yeah, I think a lot of these names will continue to work heading into this year. So far so good here on some of the names to go. So I do like LVS. Obviously, we just talked about Wynn as well. So that's going to be a big name for me this year, hopefully. But LVS, another name that's sort of on some of these bottoms. So look out here. I still can't believe I got out of Facebook, man. It's at 338 right now. What a nice run that is as the imbalances are getting ready to be locked and loaded right now. So we'll call these up. We'll call up a chart here and we'll look to see what comes through. So you'll see the name here. You'll see the imbalances sorted here. And we also did realize I didn't save it. Yes. Oh, here it is by size. So we can hopefully do sort it by a couple different ways here. But we'll see what's coming out the biggest right now. Coming out on the imbalances. They look to be bumping right here. So we're going to see what hits, maybe an Apple buy. We're into Ford, we're into NEO, and here they come out right now. BAC, what a surprise. The banks lead the way. Intel, big sell. The banks lead the way here today. So yeah, movement to the downside here. I don't know if it's a movement on Intel. It doesn't really look like it wants to do anything. But WFC, BAC, all on buys. There's Marvell with a sell. So some of the NASDAQ names do look like they want to come to the downside here. But again, nothing wrong with what we're seeing right now on these imbalances. I don't see any other big names. But if we sort it by now this part here, the continuous price times that, we have CNP. Okay, that makes sense. And well, not really. 400. I didn't double check this math yet, but I don't know if that works. I'm going to say no. But we'll just keep going by size right now. Intel, the biggest one on the board here with a 1.5 million share sell. And what is it doing to Intel quickly? Come on, Intel, charts, load, INTC. I don't know, guys. I'm just clicking on this here, see if it loads. Yeah, so it is creating a little bit of sell pressure here for Intel, making new days low right now on Intel. Not days low, but just session here in the last 20 minutes, low in Intel, as that's his biggest sell that I can see.
There was a small sell, it's a relatively small sell on General Motors. It's 500,000 shares, which isn't gigantic when it's done 40 million. It did a little bit of a spike down, but it's not going anywhere. So you're going to see me, I might just, why am I even bothering? Like it's essentially flat, and the sell and bounce not really going to be going. I'm just going to get out of it just because at this particular time it wasn't a gigantic imbalance. It's known to pair off usually a lot of times anyways, so not going to just jump into it and hang on thinking it's going to go. When it's not a move where I don't want to be involved in, I kind of wanted to be watching Reliant going into the close, and of course Brendan brought us another runner. Load. You type it wrong. You type it wrong the first time, and you're done. You're done.
Yep.
You're done. That's what happened to me there. But Reliant does not make that run to 10. Obviously, I would have tried to make a trade on this one had it done so. Clearly, you're not going to see it make that move, but it's still above that 880 support, right? So I can at least lock that in for tomorrow, knowing the levels that are going to be actionable for me, which is probably a little bit closer to the inflection point at 860 to that 880. I think that's more of a band of support than anything else. And then $10 is just $10, right? Like it's a failed breakout at the high today. It's an even dollar level on Reliant there. Even on the daily, there's nothing to see above here. So like that $10 is all you got to the upside. And then that 860 to 880 is that support band. I think it gets below that, it's going to be a short for me tomorrow. And if it holds that band as a sort of like a failed breakdown, then I'm going to want to try to find myself into a long trade on RELI. So I kind of know what I'm looking for on Reliance. So that's what you're kind of doing at the end of the day, or on your trader bus ride or car drive home, or when you're going over charts in the evening after the kids are in bed. Like, you're just trying to find the stocks you might think are going to be actionable. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. What levels you can work off of. It doesn't mean Reliant's going to be trading at the level I like. Like, for all I know, it could come in tomorrow and trade between 9 and 950 and not move at the open. And then suddenly I have no trade to make. But you got to be prepared, because if you're not looking at the level that's actionable in the stock at the right time, forget about it. Like Tesla, 1125 could have been a thing for me today had I been pulling out the chart and looking at it as the market was tanking. I wasn't, and I missed a sort of obvious trade there on Tesla trying to pick some bottoms.
Yeah, I just missed this Palantir move all the way to 25. Wowee, that was a 50 cent winner there. 40 cent winner if that would have gone up there. So now we'll wait there and see if we can take out that price level one more time. 18 and a quarter there on Tesla, on Palantir. NEO about to get dumped out here. You break through 3170. It didn't go upside there on that imbalance, so nothing happening there with NIO. Facebook, yeah, wow. We got out of that one early. That's still making the moves upside. Palantir, NEO, everything else pretty easy. This is what I want to talk about. So we conclude our trade there on Ford. So we hit the siren. Everybody hopefully made, I don't want to say you made your month, but you may have done that today on Ford with a nice move to the upside. Look at that, in here, cashed out here. So a nice little move to the upside there on Ford today. So straight up, man. And I channel my inner Arun on these longer term plays. So shout out to Arun on this one. Trying to hold things for a little bit longer. So we hold a quarter of this trade. Obviously getting out so early on here looks silly, but realistically this is a 40 bid. And then that out is 70. That out is 99s. So there it goes. NEO to the drop side as well, dropping back in there. We'll take that out now on NEO for a win on the last piece. And then all we're really doing is just holding out hope that Palantir can somehow make it back up here. But we said we only have 5% or a little bit less than that on this trade right now. So not going to be, it's a moneymaker, but not going to be a big one because we don't have that much left. So I'm just trying to see if we can get back upside about 20. I'll put the offer at 20 and just get out. It did take as high as 24, 23 there. So a 20 offer is a pretty good trade here, considering we're long 81s. We'll see if we can get 40 cents on this one.
Yeah, just looking at some other names that I wanted to check back in. And obviously, John Deere is going to be strong. I saw someone put that in the chat that it's going as well. We got to ask what our thoughts on for Tesla, like upcoming earnings. A lot of times, like for Tesla, the more important thing is actually the deliveries. Like they've got the positive catalyst. I'm not sure what you're going to see out of Tesla, especially on a call where Elon's not going to be there saying anything. I'm not sure what's going to matter there because the deliveries is giving you your catalyst as far as I'm concerned. And you've tried to make that run into 1200. And at this point, can it maintain that momentum, or are we going to be talking about valuations mattering a little bit here, and is Tesla going to have to pull back? Like look where this came from. Like this went 900 to 1200 in just the span of like a month. Like it was a monster move on a daily chart for $1 trillion company, right? So it's already made, as far as I'm concerned, on the catalyst, it's already made its move to the top. And then we just have to see whether or not the market or the sentiment is going to be able to sustain it. And then the Fed might have more to say about this as well coming into tomorrow. So that's what I'll be looking for in Tesla. I'm going to be listening closely to Uncle Jerome and what they have to say in that meeting. And of course, some of the other members too, because any change in the expected number of hikes or the speed of the taper could mean a heck of a lot more to these valuations than earnings, at least for the first quarter.
So there it is right there. And yeah, it's a hot dog kind of day here. All right. It's a hot dog winner kind of day here for us on Palantir, as there it is right there. We just took it. I waited at 20. It went to 20. We missed. We took it out at 19 there for 39 cents for that. And this is going to look silly, but that's how we traded Palantir today. A good one for me. I hope it was a good one for you as well. Alibaba almost back to Greensville. Right now, Roblox upside as well. But yeah, a lot of new 52-week lows today being put in. So including Square back to 157, yuck on that one. That's not a very good name to look at. Microsoft back down. This is one that's interesting to me. Microsoft fading out a bit here. Just if this can pull back even more, man, like into the 50 period, it's only 357 right now, so we have a little bit of time to go. It's now below the 50 period, this Microsoft, but I need it to pull back, like into this area, man, like 316, 317. Shout out to Stone Cold on this one. If we can get a 316 bid on Microsoft, I think that's definitely worth putting some more money into this name. As just noting, man, like although the market down, Microsoft down more than the market. That seems a bit strange to me. We could check out Apple on what was its $3 trillion day today as it goes up to 183.39 as the high, and it's going to close about 180. So really not much to look at here as far as Apple is concerned, but some nice movement here today. Big drop at that. What was happening in the morning today on the NASDAQ was like anarchy, and Apple's never really recovered from that. So we'll have to see, man. Maybe it is sell some of these big cap tech and just get into industrials, man. Lots of names at 52-week highs today. Apple was one of them, so let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. We do like Apple still. I like both Apple and Microsoft. However, today, CRM and Shopify, new buys for me.
Absolutely, and looks like, Relay might get it too. We'll see what happens, guys. Relay down towards that 880 level. We'll see what happens, obviously, but I do like this level if we can play off of it tomorrow. It did flush a little bit, so the short would have definitely worked on RELI. We'll see. I'm going to be tracking this one at the close. I don't think it's got that 4 p.m. run in it because obviously it's nowhere near that high. But I think it is going to be one to watch for tomorrow's price action. The small caps had been fantastic if you've been trading them, at least those like halt-style runners, so we're going to watch those very closely. The green, I mean, we always talk about the NASDAQ, and I know Ms. V's in the green. The ES is pretty much exactly flat as we're about to head to the close and ring that bell in about 30 to 40 seconds. But Ms. V did wear the green today. It's not going to do much for the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ did bounce rather nicely, a couple hundred points, or 150 points there, but still down 1.1%. And there's no chance in 30 seconds that it's going to be able to make it all up, guys. But it is what it is. She wore the green. She certainly tried.
Yeah, with only 20 seconds left. You got the counter, or you want me to hit it?
I got it ready.
Okay, so we are getting ready to go with only 15 seconds to go now. Nice little rebound today in the market. We'll get a breakup from Brendan, or a breakdown from Brendan in a couple minutes. As we only have 7 seconds now, get ready to count this down, and we'll see what's going to fly. 3, 2, and 1.
Oh my goodness.
Take it easy there. But I thought it was going to be Ms. V. Unfortunately, we're all disappointed. What's up over there at the big screen? Just playing around, Randy. Over there at the big screen, or at the desk, is Brendan. How do we finish up today?
They tried to keep the S&P at least in positive territory, but failed, sadly to say it. There it is, negative 0.06 for the S&P. The Dow did manage 0.8, 1.3 for the NASDAQ, leading the way to the downside. Brazil 0.4, crude oil 1.25. You can see some positivity still for cryptocurrencies, but all about tech stocks today, guys.
Yeah, and just a clarification, Bucks, you're right. Elon is going to be on the call, but he's already said he's not going to have the same role on the calls as before. So I just don't think he's going to move anything overall. Yeah, he'll talk about the truck, but I don't think that's going to be the mover for Tesla. I think valuations are going to matter more at this point. But again, I could be wrong. We'll see about it. We're going to find out from Powell tomorrow. Like we said, the market did not hold up too well today, but the bounce, you always want to see
I think it held up
on a
pretty
really
good.
down day, you want to see the market bounce, right? Like closing at the lows is the worst case scenario. Finding a bounce shows you that there's still buyers out there in the market that want to find and scoop up value, right? Like when you don't have any of that, that's when you get deeper pullbacks. So.
I'm pretty happy today. I hope you guys are as well. Stay tuned for the trade of the day coming through with Neil. Thank you to Rob. Thank you to Lucas today on the 1s and 2s. And thank you for helping out with that crazy sound. That was, there they go, there he goes. Yeah, what's up, buddy? I don't know if they can see that. That's pretty dark there. Thank you to Ms. V again, V Money. That's always been her name, but today we proved it with her shirt. V Money is there today, so thank you very much. There it is again. Look at that shirt. Yeah, who else got that money shirt on? Ms. V, thank you so much. Thank you to Trader Prad over there, still in the back alley there. What's up, Trader Prad? Is he still around?
Yeah, he's there. He's there.
No, they don't have the camera going. Okay, that's fine. But thank you to Trader Pratt, and of course, thank you to Brendan for all the work. Thank you to Eric as well. Big time work, always helping us out on the tech side of things. There he is. There's Pratt. Yeah, Lehman Brothers. So I know that was Pratt's last job there. He was the risk manager back in 2008. Please look up Lehman Brothers, and you'll find out why Pratt is now working
That's why
here.
he got hired. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
With that on your CV, you can't.
We're working on his risk management skills. So thank you so much to Trader Pratt. What another big show today. But that's it. It was a good one. It's 4:02. We're running a little bit late. Stay tuned for the trade of the day. It was
Nvidia. It wasn't a winner, but hey.
It was Nvidia. Yeah, you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your wins. That's for sure. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Ciao. Stay warm. There it is. The 4-pack in the building tomorrow, 8:30. See you guys.
Bye, guys.